Chapter 1748, Asking Xiao Yunduan. Miss Fang sneered. If she wasn't willing, then shut up. Another word, and the third section would have no choice but to agree. The third section was furious, but they dared not utter a word. After the incident, Miss Fang found Zhao Shu more and more pleasing to the eye. Had he not stepped forward to speak, suppressing the third section wouldn't have been as easy. Sooner or later, she would have to find an opportunity to deal with those ingrates from the third section. Cao Cao was also fuming about the matter. She adorned the gold hairpin with large gems that Xiao Xian had given her, flaunting various pieces of jewelry and pocket money to Xiao Xiaoji. Envy prompted Xiao Xiaoji to run back to Ms. Ma, choosing to vent there instead of crying in front of Cao Cao. Ms. Ma was envious too. Thinking of Zhao Shu only fueled Ms. Ma's frustration. If her daughter were to marry Zhao Shu, even as a concubine, he'd be so wealthy that Cao Cao wouldn't get the chance to flaunt. However, Ms. Ma also realized that it was just wishful thinking. Her son was destined for a high-ranking official position. How could her daughter be a concubine? She had to be the first wife. Ms. Ma comforted Xiao Xiaoji, assuring her that when her brother became an official, he would find her a wealthy family better than Cao Cao's. Xiao Xiaoji continued to cry, feeling a mix of resentment and anticipation. She hoped her brother would attain official status soon, making her an official's daughter too. Bitterly she pondered her Ajiyuro. How many more years could she wait? Why wasn't her brother becoming a recommended man, an advanced scholar, or an official sooner? If he failed to become an intermediate recommended man this year, would he have to wait another 3 years? How could he endure waiting for another 3 years? Xiao Xiaoji couldn't help but shiver. Ms. Fang was highly content with the marriage proposal from the first section of the Xiao family, but she didn't immediately agree. Instead, she informed Zhao Shu that Xiao Yunduan was in charge of Cao Cao's marriage, so he needed to seek Xiao Yunduan's approval. As long as Xiao Yunduan gave the nod, Zhao Shu promptly conveyed his intention to visit An's province to seek approval. Though Lord Xiao didn't appear to show much interest in him, Zhao Shu sensed a tacit agreement. Otherwise, Lord Xiao wouldn't have ignored him, let alone permitted the visit. With a farewell to Cao Cao and a goodbye to Ms. Fang, Zhao Shu, accompanied by Uncle Qing and Aunt Qing, headed to An's province without hesitation. Upon encountering Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian, the content of the letter was evident from their brief conversation. Zhao Shu, unwilling to lie, disclosed the truth when questioned. Cursing inwardly, he hadn't even broached the serious aspects of his life, yet he found himself entangled in this scam. Xiao Yunduan sneered. This sixth cousin is quite the schemer. He enjoyed stoking the flames and exacerbating the situation. Concerns about Zhao Shu's potential official career arose. It seemed he might face trouble ahead. Despite the initial skepticism, Xiao Yunduan reconsidered his opinion of Zhao Shu, appreciating his willingness to support the family. The recent discussion about Xiao Lulang had left a lingering tension, but Zhao Shu had to set aside his intended remarks. He updated Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian on family matters, presenting the special gifts they had requested. Gradually the atmosphere lightened. Chapter 1749, Zhao Shu's proposal. Zhao Shu and his servants took residence in the modest guest room within the eastern courtyard. Xiao Xian, upon learning of his arrival, instructed the kitchen to prepare a few extra dishes and extended an invitation for dinner to Zhao Shu. The family harbored no reservations towards Zhao Shu. As he was destined to be their future son-in-law, there was no need to entertain suspicions. Eager to proceed, Zhao Shu, along with his hosts, shared a meal together. As they sat in the parlor sipping tea, Zhao Shu finally rose, offering a deep bow to Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian, and broached the subject of marrying Cao Cao to Xiao Yunduan. The air froze. Xiao Yunduan raised his eyebrows. Xiao Xian looked at him and then at Zhao Shu and smiled. She didn't say anything. She knew very well what her husband was thinking. This matter had been going on for so long. It was time for an outcome. Otherwise it would be unfair to Zhao Shu and Cao Cao. It wasn't that her husband held any disdain for Zhao Shu, but he found it difficult to part with his only sister. As Xiao Xian contemplated Xiao Yunduan's silence, on the verge of suggesting a need for further consideration, Xiao Yunduan interjected, "Is this how you propose?" Taken aback, Zhao Shu's nerves kicked in immediately. He stammered. "I am very sincere, brother Xiao. I promise to treat Cao Cao well, sparing her any grievances. I'll ensure her happiness every day. If not, brother Xiao and sister-in-law, you can hold me accountable. I won't have any complaints and I won't take a concubine. Not even a maid. I'll be loyal to Tao Tao Euro." Xiao Yunduan shot him a glance, halting his rambling. Elder brother Xiao Euro, unable to contain herself, Xiao Xian let out a snicker. This brother-in-law truly lacked any temper. Where could she find such a wealthy and easily manageable brother-in-law? After this instance, such opportunities would be scarce. Xiao Yunduan couldn't endure it any longer. If you want to propose, at least do it properly, right? Ayuro Zhaoshu remained nervous, his thoughts in disarray. Brother Xiao, whatever you want, Ayuro, I'll do it. Xiao Xian, unable to contain herself, burst into laughter. Young Master Zhao, find a matchmaker to discuss this with our family. We lack nothing. Tao Tao is our only girl and we can't bear to see her suffer. Xiao Yunduan shot his wife a glance, knowing she understood his intentions, unlike Zhao Shu, who seemed oblivious. Ecstatic, Zhao Shu's eyes lit up. Really? Feeling a bit foolish, Xiao Yunduan threw him a look. Suppressing her laughter, Xiao Xian said, certainly true. Remember your promises to Daiyuro, treat Tao Tao well and spare her any suffering. Zhao Shu's grin reached from ear to ear. He nodded vigorously. No worries, no worries. Sister-in-law, brother Xiao, rest assured. I'll treat Tao Tao well, I swear. No need to swear. Well judged by your actions. If you disappoint Tao Tao, we won't let you off. Since you're genuinely interested, go and formally propose. Whether she accepts is up to Tao Tao. Zhao Shu continued, nodding with a wide smile. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, brother Xiao, sister-in-law, for making my wish come true, hee hee. Chapter 1750. Consider it a agreement. Certainly, Tao Tao would be willing. She liked Zhao Shu too, and their exchanged glances spoke volumes, despite their lack of physical intimacy. Tao Tao's blushes during their conversations were telling, and she had graciously accepted the thoughtful and expensive gift he gave her. While the gifts weren't exclusively for Tao Tao, hers was particularly lavish and considerate. If it were intended for her alone, she might have hesitated. In return, Tao Tao had gifted him with various food specialties. Although he secretly desired items like a handkerchief or pouch, he refrained from asking, understanding that such gifts were not easily given by girls. Her restrained nature only deepened his admiration. Even Aunt Qing and Uncle Qing praised her for understanding boundaries. Once engaged, they would be family, eliminating the need for such reservations. If he expressed his desire for a handkerchief or a sachet, would Tao Tao willingly provide them? He had carefully chosen many gifts for her, investing considerable effort. Surely Tao Tao would appreciate them. Not only could he freely exchange gifts with her, but they would also have the opportunity to converse privately. Perhaps he could even touch her hand. Surely Tao Tao wouldn't object, right? The more Zhao Shu dwelled on these thoughts, the more delightful they became. He couldn't help but break into a foolish, happy laugh. His expression was too obvious. Xiao Yunduan raised his eyebrows and got very angry. Xiao Xian coughed and said to Zhao Shu, young Master Zhao, you must be tired from the journey. Go back and rest. All right. I won't disturb your rest. Don't worry, elder brother Xiao and sister-in-law. They'll get some matchmaker to propose tomorrow. With a smile he added, I'll go too. Xiao Xian found it funny, thinking that he was not tired at all. Zhao Shu left happily. His feet felt light as if he was floating in the air, feeling refreshed. What he had pondered for so long was finally materializing. After a prolonged period of weighing pros and cons, he could finally find solace. The weather was truly splendid. The moon shone brightly, and the stars scattered across the sky. Upon Zhao Shu's departure, Xiao Xian couldn't contain her laughter. She cast a playful glance at Xiao Yunduan and remarked with a smile, from now on, you ought to treat young Master Zhao even better. After all, we're family. Xiao Yunduan sighed and took hold of Xiao Xian's hands. Reflecting on the swift passage of time, he mused, Tao Tao in my mind remains petite and young. I never expected her to be betrothed so swiftly. I hope Zhao Shu keeps his word and treats her well. Xiao Xian smiled gently. Young Master Zhao seems genuinely caring. Our Tao Tao is a wonderful girl, and their future should be bright. Moreover, with my husband by their side, there will be an added layer of protection. Rejuvenated, Xiao Yunduan smiled at Xiao Xian. For the sake of my wife, our children, and our family, I must persevere. At the very least, he needed to continue his official duties. Accumulate experience and merits, secure a higher position before contemplating other plans. Xiao Xian chimed in. It's not as dire as it seems. Even if my husband were to retire from officialdom with our current wealth, no one could intimidate us. No need for him to burden himself excessively. Xiao Yunduan laughed, drew Xiao Xian close and planted a gentle kiss on her. I know what I'm doing. Don't fret, my heart will acquiesce. The two shared a smile, and Xiao Xian's heart softened as she nestled into his embrace. Time flew by swiftly. Cao Cao was on the verge of marriage and they were soon to be parents. Chapter 1751. Excited Zhao Shu was overflowing with joy, so much so that he couldn't sleep a wink that entire night. Uncle Qing and Aunt Qing shared in his happiness. Witnessing his excitement, they found themselves torn between laughter and tears. Anxious to make preparations, Zhao Shu needed to return to Yuzhang the following day. While not as prosperous as Jiangnan, Yuzhang, being a provincial city, offered access to goods from both the north and south. The marriage proposal was merely the beginning. The actual purchases would take place in Yuzhang. Afterward, he planned to acquire a spacious house in Yuzhang province. This would not only serve as a convenient residence for him and Cao Cao but also accommodate the betrothal gifts he had prepared in Jiangnan. Anticipating his brother's extended stay in An's province, Zhao Shu considered buying a house there as well. When Xiao Yunduan settled down, Zhao Shu envisioned picking up Cao Cao and her mother to visit and stay for a while. Surely Cao Cao would be delighted, earning praise from her mother-in-law. Amidst his joyous planning, Zhao Shu overlooked the fact that his future mother-in-law was the Lord's biological Sona Euro, an official in An's province. It only made sense to stay with his biological son, not in a house bought by his son-in-law. Xiao Xian advised Zhao Shu to rest for a couple of days before departing, and Xiao Yunduan shared a few words with him. While Zhao Shu was eager, he realized he was fatigued from the lengthy journey. Besides, given the care shown by fifth brother and fifth sister-in-law, he decided to grant them some face. Indeed, young Master Zhao was taking a proactive approach, having already adjusted his way of addressing Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian as fifth brother and fifth sister-in-law. Xiao Yunduan was momentarily surprised by the change, but he neither corrected nor offered any suggestions. Instead, he silently consented. Feeling increasingly self-assured, Zhao Shu's self-importance grew. Xiao Xian chuckled inwardly. This Zhao Shu was truly entertaining. Having spent 2 days in An's province, Zhao Shu embarked on his journey to Yuzhang, serving as a messenger for Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian. Ecstatic, Zhao Shu set off without the accompaniment of Aunt Qing and Uncle Qing. They watched with smiles, sighing with relief. Young master's marriage is finally settled. Shortly before the new year, the clan leader sent a letter urging Zhao Shu's swift return to Euro, for no reason other than his impending marriage. Since Zhao Shu's adoption, numerous individuals within the clan eyed his marriage prospects. The threshold of the clan leader's family was nearly worn down. The clan relatives and friends were all fervently eager to share potential matches for Zhao Shu. After all, the wealth of Zhao Shu's family, bereft of direct elders, was immense. Just the 100,000 mu of mulberry fields alone generated an annual income of 700,000 to 800,000 taels of silver euro, a staggering wealth that many dared not imagine. Success in marrying into the family would make the in-law family Zhao Shu's closest relative and elder. This opportunity promised newfound prosperity, tempting many. The patriarch's daughter-in-law, faced with the realization that her maternal family lacked a suitable girl for marriage, was on the brink of despair. She had missed a golden opportunity and was determined to rectify it. Who wouldn't be enticed by such a favorable arrangement? Now, with nothing else to occupy her thoughts, the patriarch's daughter-in-law resolved to assist anyone willing to offer sufficient benefits. Chapter 1752. Dumbfounded, she accused Zhao Shu of being overly petty. In a logical sense, Zhao Shu had adopted the patriarch's late younger brother, making the patriarch's family his elders. Therefore, it was only fair for him to delegate responsibilities to manage his business. However, Zhao Shu remained adamant, even resisting the pressure from the clan. He hadn't returned, making it inappropriate to press the matter further. This time they called him back for 2 reasons: his impending marriage and the desire to intervene in his business affairs. Even if they had parted ways, they were still his elders. When the time came to reprimand him, he would have to show some deference. The Zhao family clan buzzed with activity, resembling a revolving door or a game of musical chairs. The patriarch's wife assumed an air of importance, as if she held Zhao Shu's family matters in her grasp. Upon Zhao Shu's return, his eyes gleamed upon hearing the patriarch and his wife discussing the marriage. Feeling slightly embarrassed, he smiled and admitted, I originally planned to inform you about this upon my return. I've taken a liking to a girl and was about to propose. The patriarch and his wife were taken aback, exchanging astonished glances. This person had actually set his sights on someone outside the clan? Unthinkable. He couldn't possibly do this. Quickly, the patriarch's wife interjected, Shu, you're still young and inexperienced. The world can be treacherous, and with your family's wealth, you need to be especially cautious outside. Who knows if others have their eyes on your assets? Falling prey to those with ill intentions could lead to trouble. The patriarch nodded in agreement. Zhao Shu felt displeased upon hearing this. He swiftly clarified, "Auntie, you've misunderstood. The girl I like comes from an exceptional family. Her brother is the newly appointed primus by the emperor this year. He currently holds the position of a fifth-ranked minister counselor in the Ministry of Revenue in the capital and enjoys favor from the emperor and the crown prince. How can such a family not be esteemed?" The patriarch's wife froze in surprise. However, the patriarch's expression soured. Did that girl personally confirm this? Something doesn't add up. While I may not be well-versed in bureaucratic matters, don't all new primuses join the Hanlin Academy initially? It takes several years to progress to the 6 divisions, right? Moreover, attaining the 5th rang Kayuro, this is a significant official position. How could one suddenly rise to such a rank? The patriarch's wife chimed in, "Exactly. It's obvious that this is a fabrication. If you can concoct such a ludicrous lie, what does it say about your character, Euro? Auntie?" Zhao Shu interrupted her unhappily. "You've misunderstood. I spent a considerable time in the capital and happened to become friends with the newly appointed top scorer, Lord Xiao. I only discovered his sister later. How could this be a lie? No one would dare fabricate such a story. Brother Xiao is exceptionally capable and stands out among the primuses. The emperor and the crown prince hold him in high regard, so it's not surprising that he achieved a 5th-rank position at such a young age. If uncle doubts my words, you can verify it by asking around in the capital." Though Zhao Shu felt a twinge of guilt for not disclosing Xiao Yunduan's impending departure from the capital, he wasn't lying. Euro, everything he said was true. While working with Qiao Xian to resolve the Zhao family's issues, he refrained from divulging certain details to maintain credibility. Yet he wouldn't permit anyone to besmirch Tao Tao and the Xiao family. He went so far as to enlist Uncle Qing and Aunt Qing as witnesses to support his claims. Chapter 1753. The Lu family won't do it. Uncle Qing and Aunt Qing exchanged nods in agreement. These two were not just ordinary aides, they were pillars of support left by Madame Zheng for Zhao Shu, and their words held immense weight. The patriarch and his wife found themselves unable to counter their stance. Sharing a meaningful glance, the couple realized they had no choice but to let go of their objections. Zhao Shu's choice in marriage surpassed the standards set by his family. There was no logical reason for him to reconsider. Besides, given the prospective spouse's popularity with the crown prince and the remarkable achievement of being a 5th-grade official at such a young age, Zhao Shu's future seemed boundless. The patriarch dared not risk offending such a significant figure easily. With a few words of blessing, the patriarch dismissed Zhao Shu, leaving him to rest. Once Zhao Shu departed, an unspoken conversation passed between the patriarch and his wife. The patriarch sighed, breaking the silence. "Let it be. Regardless, Shu treats us well. His choice will benefit the Zhao family in the long run." His wife sighed in agreement. Though lingering reluctance remained, they had to concede. Zhao Shu's generosity, especially during festive occasions, was undeniable. The New Year's gifts and the 15th of August brocade, with each piece valued at 300 taels of silver, showcased his affluence. The silver alone amounted to a generous sum of 5,000 taels. Comparatively, Zhao Mu paled in comparison. The matter seemed settled, but when the patriarch's wife confided in her cousin Mrs. Lu about Zhao Shu's choice, Mrs. Lu was taken aback and displeased. Initially confident in the match, Mrs. Lu had assumed Zhao Shu, with no other elders to consider, would naturally heed the suggestions of the patriarch and his wife. She had already envisioned the calculation of Zhao Shu's assets. Mrs. Lu had meticulously planned everything. Once her youngest daughter was engaged to Zhao Shu, she intended to have them married within the next 2 to 3 months. Considering Zhao Shu's age, it was high time for him to settle down. Post-wedding, she envisioned a stint at Zhao Shu's residence to assist her daughter in managing the household. Anyone deemed unruly or disobedient would be promptly dismissed. Her strategic move involved entrusting her son, daughter-in-law, 2 other daughters, and son-in-law with the responsibilities of the Zhao family's business. They were family, and Mrs. Lu insisted on their active involvement, unwilling to let outsiders take charge. Mrs. Lu felt empowered to scheme in such a way because she perceived Zhao Shu as vulnerable, lacking parents or siblings. In due time she would become his mother-in-law and the closest elder in his Euro. How could he possibly resist? Mrs. Lu went so far as to inquire about Zhao Shu's assets, piecing together enough information to fuel her excitement. As she shared her plans with her family, excitement rippled through them as well. Despite Mrs. Lu and her husband urging caution and discretion about their newfound wealth, their secrecy didn't last long. Once the news broke, it spread like wildfire. The sons and daughters-in-law of the Lu family, unable to contain their enthusiasm, inadvertently leaked the information. Despite fervent warnings to keep it under wraps, word got out. Rumors echoed throughout the community, with even the youngest child in the neighborhood supposedly aware that the Lu family's youngest daughter was on the verge of marrying the wealthiest man in Jianghu, Xiaoxu. The Lu family's fortune seemed destined to soar. Just as the Lu family reveled in their imminent prosperity, the wife of the Zhao family's patriarch abruptly instructed them to abandon their plans. Letting go of such aspirations proved to be an unbearable task for the Lu family. Chapter 1754. Bewitchment. Mrs. Lu seethed with anger, her chest turning cold, and her vision threatening to black out. She was on the verge of fainting. The audacity of the situation felt like an outright betrayal. Had it not been for her appeal to the patriarch's wife for assistance, Mrs. Lu might have unleashed a torrent of curses. This level of manipulation was beyond acceptable. The Lu family had meticulously prepared for the alliance, and the sudden change was utterly unjustifiable. The patriarch's wife's directive to forget it sounded absurd. How could they simply erase such elaborate plans? The shame would be insurmountable, tarnishing their standing with relatives, friends and neighbors. Suppressing her fury, Mrs. Lu shifted tactics to sway the patriarch's wife. Her reasoning was sound. Marrying her daughter to Xiaoxu promised far greater benefits for the patriarch's family. Mrs. Lu made a generous promise, emphasizing the potential advantages for both families. She insinuated that when the time came, members of the patriarch's family could actively participate in managing Xiaoxu's assets. It seemed like a win-win situation. Although tempted, the patriarch's wife hesitated. Instead of immediate agreement, she approached Xiaoxu, subtly suggesting that he involve her two sons, brothers and nephews in their plans. Xiaoxu found the suggestion distasteful. Flatly refusing, he clarified that while Uncle Qin could arrange suitable positions for them, adherence to rules was non-negotiable. Not everyone could become a manager, let alone assume a chief managerial role right from the start. Even if they contributed, their progress would align with the natural course of their abilities. While Xiaoxu wasn't deeply involved, he adhered to the principles instilled by his mother, Madame Zheng. This approach mirrored the rules governing the businesses under his control and those of the Zheng family in the past. Unyielding in his commitment, he refused to compromise for anyone. This stance deeply displeased the patriarch's wife. In her view, her two sons, being Xiaoxu's cousins, deserved to be chief stewards from the start. How could Xiaoxu audaciously delegate such responsibilities to his subordinates? As for her brothers and nephews from her maternal family, she knew their disposition well. Accustomed to being landowners with over 300 mu of land in the countryside, they were used to the roles of old masters and young masters. The notion of starting from the bottom seemed preposterous to them. They envisioned a life of prosperity and leisure, not hard work. If Xiaoxu had the compassion, a place in his heart for his aunt, he could have let them oversee matters and assigned a deputy to handle the practicalities. Yet he refused outright. The patriarch's wife, swayed by Mrs. Lu's enticement and fueled by dissatisfaction, sought solace in discussions with Mrs. Lu. Having gathered information from various sources, she knew Xiaoxu's resolve to marry into the Xiao family was unwavering. Fueled by discontent and anger, she began entertaining malicious thoughts. Her first scheme involved orchestrating a chance encounter between Miss Lu and Xiaoxu. A carefully arranged meeting could create an illusion of fate, fostering love at first sight. Assuming Miss Lu presented herself as a delicate beauty, coupled with the orchestrated encounter, there was a chance Xiaoxu might be swayed. In an unexpected turn, Xiaoxu sprinted away at the sight of the seemingly serendipitous meeting, petals falling from the sky like discarded dreams. Chapter 1755. Scheme failed. Miss Lu, being a girl, couldn't shake off her shyness. Despite the awareness that the entire affair reeked of manipulation, she still harbored the romantic notions of a young girl. Unexpectedly, before she could approach Xiaoxu, he likely barely glimpsed her face. He only registered a rose-red embroidered dress before swiftly turning on his heels and running away. Left behind in embarrassment, Miss Lu, who was meant to coincidentally encounter Xiaoxu, returned home in tears. Overwhelmed by sadness and shame, she felt thoroughly humiliated, much to the fury of Mrs. Lu. In reality, Xiaoxu hadn't dwelled much on the incident. He was simply exercising caution. While strolling through the plum trees, he spotted a girl in vibrant attire. Sensing a potential gossip risk, he opted for a hasty retreat to avoid implicating her reputation. A gentleman at heart, he wouldn't indulge in wicked actions. Creating a convincing coincidental encounter required meticulous planning and timing. Missing an opportunity meant the task would become exponentially more challenging. Being both affluent and socially sought after, Zhao Shu juggled numerous engagements daily, especially with his impending marriage to the prominent Xiao family in the capital. The patriarch's wife aimed to orchestrate another meeting between Zhao Shu and Miss Lu, but time slipped away. With Zhao Shu's imminent departure to the capital after the first lunar month, the patriarch's wife felt a sense of urgency. Though conflicted, Mrs. Lu, resolute and unyielding, persisted in her quest to rectify the situation. While not an original strategy, its success, if achieved, would be an undeniable victory. Zhao Shu would find it impossible to renege on his commitment. Both the Lu family and the patriarch's wife were resolute in ensuring Zhao Shu didn't backtrack on his commitment. The patriarch's wife, although initially hesitant, harbored fears of failure and potential future animosity from Zhao Shu. On the other hand, Mrs. Lu, driven by determination, relentlessly persuaded and urged the wavering patriarch's wife until she succumbed. Opting for a seemingly easier route, the patriarch's wife clandestinely instructed her son to accompany Zhao Shu to gatherings and ensure he consumed enough alcohol to induce inebriation. It was a calculated move, anticipating that something would transpire in such a vulnerable state. Moreover, the blame could conveniently be shifted to Zhao Shu. If her son claimed ignorance due to intoxication, Zhao Shu would find it challenging to defend himself. This would leave him beholden to Miss Lu and susceptible to any requests the Lu family made. Contrary to expectations, Uncle Qin, Aunt Qin, and the others maintained exceptional vigilance, heeding only Zhao Shu's directives. Furthermore, Zhao Shu was cautious about alcohol, never allowing himself to get drunk in unfamiliar settings. His mother, Madame Zheng, had instilled in him the risks involved, particularly in their line of business, where one couldn't afford to be inebriated and prone to potential manipulations. Drinking and socializing were integral to their business interactions, making sobriety imperative to avoid the pitfalls of signing contracts or being deceived while intoxicated. Zhao Shu therefore refrained from getting drunk outside, even during gatherings. Uncle Qing and the others were unwavering in their commitment to shielding Zhao Shu, preventing any unwanted approaches. As the spring festival drew to a close, the patriarch's wife and Mrs. Lu found themselves without an opportunity to execute their plan. Chapter 1756. Zhao Shu won't go. The patriarch's wife sighed. Tired, mentally tired. Why don't we forget about this matter? She didn't have much confidence after failing for so long. However, Mrs. Lu wasn't willing. She was also distraught and depressed, but at the thought that she could have a fortune if she worked harder, she felt that she could do it again. Mrs. Lu's family was having a banquet. As the patriarch's wife, she asked her two sons to go and bring Zhao Shu along. But Zhao Shu refused to go no matter what. With utmost transparency, Zhao Shu addressed his two cousins. I've heard numerous baseless rumors about my supposed intention to marry Miss Lu. It's absolute nonsense. I can't risk attending the Lu family's event. Those rumors might resurface. I wouldn't want to jeopardize Miss Lu's reputation. I'd be terribly embarrassed. While Zhao Shu believed the matter wouldn't significantly impact him, given his impending marriage, the widespread news of his union with the Xiao family served as a countermeasure to suppress rumors circulating in the Lu family. Despite the geographical distance between the Lu family and the Zhao family, the rumors managed to infiltrate Zhao Shu's domain, necessitating his caution. Zhao Shu's rationale resonated with practicality. Faced with such a situation, avoiding potential suspicions became a logical choice. The patriarch's two sons sighed inwardly, recognizing their mother's plot. While they harbored dissenting opinions, their mother kept them in the dark about her intentions. They felt compelled to feign ignorance and refrained from broaching the subject proactively. Involving reputations and delicacy, this matter demanded discretion. Whether Zhao Shu or Miss Lu, their personal matters should remain private. Despite the sons' subtle objections, their mother seemingly feigned ignorance, coercing them into bringing Zhao Shu to the Lu family event. Reluctantly, they acquiesced to her insistence. Zhao Shu's eloquent words made them heave a sigh of relief. They had something to say to their mother. The patriarch's wife was a little angry and embarrassed. She called Zhao Shu over to persuade him nicely. She smiled and said something like, "The innocent are innocent," so that Zhao Shu didn't have to care. No one would believe that nonsense. Moreover, the more he hid, the more problematic it was. If he went openly, no one would be able to say anything. Zhao Shu was still unwilling. He had his own reasons. He, Zhao Shu, had nothing to do with the Lu family and their family had nothing to do with the Lu family. Why should he go? He wanted to ride on his cousin's coattails. Wasn't this obvious that outsiders would think that there was a problem? The patriarch's wife couldn't say anything, but she couldn't show her intentions too clearly. She was helpless. Unexpectedly, Mrs. Lu was unwilling to give up. She sent her son over and asked them to bring Zhao Shu home no matter what. Uncle Qing and Aunt Qing could not take it anymore. The two young masters of the Lu family did not even get to see Zhao Shu. Perhaps Zhao Shu was still in a daze and did not know anything, but he could not hide any clues from Uncle Qing and Aunt Qing. The two of them vented their frustrations silently, muttering "shameless" under their breaths. The audacity of the failed scheme irked them, yet the Lu family dared to brazenly intrude on their territory in an attempt to reclaim Zhao Shu. How audacious! Did they truly believe their young master would succumb to bullying without anyone to defend him? The term "calculate" crossed their minds, reflecting the underhanded nature of the Lu family's actions. Simultaneously, they couldn't help but feel gratitude for their young master's fortunate association with Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao. The prospect of him marrying Miss Xiao Taotao brought a sense of relief and hope for a brighter future. Chapter 1757. Sisters falling out. Otherwise, if the patriarch and the patriarch's wife were to arrange a marriage for their young master, he would likely not reject them. The mere thought sent shivers down their spines, contemplating the potential consequences. Shocked, they found solace in the belief that it was a heavenly blessing from Madame, ensuring their young master's good fortune. Gratitude washed over them, recognizing his stroke of luck. Unable to engage in gossip, Uncle Qing and Aunt Qing refrained from divulging any information. Nevertheless, their concern for Zhao Shu led them to suggest a timely departure to the capital, offering assistance to Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao if needed. Zhao Shu readily agreed, deciding to bid farewell to the patriarch after the 15th day of the first lunar month. Departing for the young masters of prominent families involved a meticulous process. They packed their belongings, bid farewell to their elders, and could only truly set out after the 20th of the first lunar month. Lengthy farewells with relatives and friends extended the departure timeline, spanning at least 10 days to half a month. Once the matter was settled, they could leave within a few days, bringing relief to Uncle Qing and Aunt Qing. Unexpectedly, the Lu family faced a setback. With Zhao Shu's family matters resolved, the Lu family's previous boasts turned into a source of mockery. Countless people derided them behind closed doors, though none were foolish enough to explicitly convey the ridicule to the Lu family. However, an exception emerged. During a banquet hosted by the Lu family, Miss Lu and sister-in-law entertained a group of young misses and madams. Among them were those who harbored ill feelings towards Miss Lu. Coincidentally, there was a quarrel. The other party was angry and spoke too quickly, so they used this matter to mock Miss Lu. Due to this ordeal, Miss Lu found herself overwhelmed with shame and resentment. She even harbored bitterness towards her mother, feeling that the matter had not been truly resolved but had instead spread far and wide. Unable to face the embarrassment, she was on the verge of hiding from everyone. To her dismay, the mockery didn't end. In front of a gathered crowd, people openly taunted her, and snickers echoed from the onlookers. Blushing with embarrassment, Miss Lu covered her face and fled, tears streaming down her cheeks. The two daughters-in-law of the Lu family shared in the embarrassment, and witnessing Miss Lu's distress made others uncomfortable. Swiftly changing the topic, they attempted to divert attention away from the awkward situation. While the incident was promptly suppressed at the banquet, whispers lingered as some couldn't resist discussing it in hushed tones afterwards. After the banquet, news of the embarrassing incident spread throughout the Lu family, leaving everyone disgruntled. To everyone's shock, Miss Lu, overwhelmed by embarrassment, attempted to hang herself. Fortunately, her vigilant maidservant intervened in time, saving her from harm. Mrs. Lu, deeply distressed, held her daughter close, tears streaming down both their faces. Overwhelmed with grief and anger, Mrs. Lu directed her frustration towards the patriarch's wife and sought answers from the Zhao family. In her pursuit of justice, she decided to expose the matter. Exasperation fueled a heated argument between the patriarch's wife and Mrs. Lu, resulting in an irreparable rift in the relationship between the cousins. Mrs. Lu, fueled by resentment and an unwavering determination, refused to back down. The thwarted outcome with the patriarch's wife only intensified her resolve. At this point, retreating would mean forfeiting everything. She believed that by pressing forward there might still be a chance. The commotion extended to the Zhao family clan, eliciting the patriarch's ire. Frustrated, he vented his complaints to his wife, realizing that the matter needed resolution. Summoned amidst the chaos, Zhao Shu arrived, wearing a perplexed expression. Mrs. Lu, however, didn't want to strain her relationship with him. She refrained from holding on to him, seeking a more diplomatic approach to address the unfolding situation. Chapter 1758. Anyway, no. Mrs. Lu, however, continued to insist, pressuring the patriarch's wife and claiming that she had been promised Zhao Shu for her youngest daughter. This rumor had already spread, tarnishing her daughter's reputation, and now the Zhao family was demanded to provide an explanation. She hinted strongly that Zhao Shu was intended for her daughter's hand in marriage. Zhao Shu's expression darkened. The patriarch's wife, caught off guard by the unfolding situation, was filled with regret. Despite Mrs. Lu's accusations, she vehemently denied any such promise. Zhao Shu could clarify that while he might have entertained the idea in the past, no formal steps like proposing or exchanging birth dates had taken place. It wasn't a valid commitment. Mrs. Lu persisted, trusting the relationship between her and Madame Zhao, cousins with a supposedly strong bond. She accused Madame Zhao of betrayal, claiming her daughter's tragic fate was a result of deception. An explanation was demanded. The elders of the Zhao clan disapproved, casting judgmental looks at the patriarch and his wife. The gravity of the situation threatened the family's reputation. As tension escalated, the patriarch silently cursed, realizing the potential consequences. If a death were associated with this dispute, his position as patriarch might be jeopardized. Mrs. Lu remained relentless, pushing the boundaries dangerously. In truth, the Lu family held the incorrect stance, and the patriarch's wife had made a grave error in her hastiness. Had the patriarch's wife not been so quick to make promises without verifying the facts, the Lu family would have remained silent. The blame rested on her for pursuing a faulty narrative. Some believed that when Zhao Shu returned and clarified his existing commitment to another family, the patriarch's wife should have decisively quashed any aspirations the Lu family harbored. Yet, unbeknownst to many, she was hatching a covert plot against Mrs. Lu. It's a small community. Did they truly believe their schemes would go unnoticed? The public merely played ignorant. In the end, their machinations backfired and they ended up causing harm to themselves. These two individuals were far from virtuous, but dwelling on that was futile. The immediate concern was resolving the issue and pacifying the Lu family. Within the Zhao clan, there were those who reveled in Zhao Shu's misfortune, eagerly anticipating his downfall out of sheer jealousy. Zhao Shu's affluent background, coupled with his lack of familial restrictions, fueled envy and resentment. These onlookers couldn't wait for his fortunes to take a turn for the worse. Hence, taking a diplomatic approach, they suggested Zhao Shu marry Miss Lu. After all, he wasn't bound to the Xiao family through engagement, making it a family matter that required respect for the elders and their priorities. Given Lord Xiao's refined education, it was presumed he'd comprehend the situation. Numerous heads nodded in agreement. Considering the Xiao family's distance from the capital, they wouldn't be adversely affected. The Lu family, however, was in a different predicament. Should any harm befall Miss Lu due to this dispute, the Zhao family's reputation would suffer, impacting them all. The patriarch and his wife gazed at Zhao Shu hopeful. Mrs. Lu, even more self-satisfied, declared it as the optimal solution. She lavished praise on her daughter, extolling her virtues, sensibility, intelligence, and beauty. Once married into the Zhao family, she promised, Miss Lu would dutifully care for her elders, tend to her husband, and raise her children with utmost dedication. Mrs. Lu confidently envisioned her daughter becoming the ideal daughter-in-law for the Zhao family. Chapter 1759. Not giving any face, infuriated, Zhao Shu vented his anger, scolding the Zhao family relentlessly. He made it clear marriage to a girl from the Lu family was out of the question. His commitment lay with the Xiao family, and he was adamant about reporting to the patriarch and formalizing the betrothal. No other family would be part of his matrimonial plans. He wouldn't let anyone undermine this decision. He viewed his marriage seriously and was prepared to face any legal battle or financial strain that arose from this dispute. Compromise was not an option. Defying all odds, he asserted, let them try if they have the audacity. Frustrated at the absurdity of treating his marriage as a jest, Zhao Shu declared he'd start his own family if the Zhao family held such a stance. As Zhao Shu cursed, Mrs. Lu's face fluctuated between red and white. Panic seized many members of the Zhao family as they attempted to pacify him. How could they utter such words? The Zhao family had no reason to dislike him. His generosity during the new year, showering elders' families with gifts exceeding 1,000 taels, was a testament to his affluence. The family could live comfortably for a year with just his New Year's offerings. No matter who opposed him, the god of fortune seemed to favor him. Rich, influential, and well-connected, Zhao Shu was beyond the Zhao family's control unless he willingly yielded. Mrs. Lu, humiliated and desperate, resorted to threatening her daughter's life once more. Unfazed, Zhao Shu sneered and retorted, "How is that my problem? I don't even know you. Find whoever you want. I couldn't care less." Mrs. Lu nearly fainted from the intensity of her anger. The patriarch and his wife wore expressions of extreme displeasure. Zhao Shu showed no regard for their authority. Observing their evident fury, Zhao Shu took a measure of satisfaction. His substantial wealth, though disposable, wouldn't be spent on tolerating their bullying. Despite belonging to the same clan, he drew a line at being coerced into unwanted commitments. He asserted firmly, "Let's be clear, Euro, I won't marry this girl no matter which family she belongs to. Who dared to scheme behind my back, and how did you bring her here? Sort out sending her back." His words aimed solely to repel and disgust them. Mrs. Lu, infuriated, nearly spewed blood as she scolded the patriarch's wife for implicating her in the responsibility. The two women engaged in a heated argument, teetering on the verge of physical confrontation if not for the onlookers. Unyielding, Zhao Shu held his ground, and Mrs. Lu clung to the patriarch's wife, almost driving her to insanity. Ultimately, the patriarch's wife offered a substantial monetary compensation to the Lu family, taking full blame and framing it as a misunderstanding that tarnished Miss Lu's reputation. The Lu family reluctantly relented. Despite his dissatisfaction, Zhao Shu's defiance left the Zhao family with limited options. What else could they do? Refusing marriage, Zhao Shu remained beyond the Zhao family's control. As for the Lu family and the patriarch's family, their interactions were virtually non-existent. Annoyed by the clan's interference, Zhao Shu reported to the elders and departed within a few days. His business in the south faced delays, and upon reaching the capital, he discovered that Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian had already left for An's province, leaving Zhao Shu somewhat regretful. Nonetheless, since he was already in the capital, he decided to inspect their properties on behalf of Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian. Chapter 1760. Preparing to propose marriage. And so, Zhao Shu made his way to the manor in Cloudwater Town, engaging in a conversation with the manager. He provided instructions on various matters, assisted in resolving a minor issue, and gathered some information in the capital before departing. Originally bound for An's province, halfway there, he found himself reconsidering. A stronger desire drew him towards Yuzhang. Changing course, Zhao Shu headed straight to the first section of the Xiao family in Xiaoding village. After spending some time in Xiaoding village, he proceeded to An's province to formalize the marriage proposal. Securing a promise from Xiao Yunduan, he happily returned to Xiaoding village. As for the events in the Zhao clan's hometown, Zhao Shu kept them tightly concealed, deeming it unnecessary to disclose. He had assured the Xiao family, so why complicate matters? Perfectly resolving the situation, Zhao Shu arrived in Yuzhang province and visited Yuezhing Xiao. Brimming with pride, he shared the news of his impending daughter-in-law, receiving blessings from Yuezhing Xiao, who even accompanied him for city shopping. They even invited a matchmaker from the provincial city. Overflowing with gratitude, Zhao Shu praised Yuezhing Xiao as a good man, offering his assistance in the future. Yuezhing Xiao couldn't help but chuckle, finding Zhao Shu's enthusiasm amusing. Little did he know, Zhao Shu harbored a hint of guilt towards him. Preferring Tao Tao, Zhao Shu perceived Yuezhing Xiao, close to the Xiao family, as a potential rival. Misunderstandings fueled his suspicion, only to realize later that he had misjudged. Although unknown to others, he carried the weight of this self-aware guilt, feeling he had let Yuezhing Xiao down. If Yuezhing Xiao knew what he was thinking, he would be caught between laughter and tears. Tao Tao was a good girl, and if the two families got married, they would be closer to the Xiao family. Yuezhing Xiao had such a thought, but he soon gave it up. The daughter-in-law of a big family like the Yuezhing family was not someone a girl like Tao Tao could deal with. In contrast, Zhao Shu's family dynamics were simpler, making him a more suitable match. With everything prepared, Zhao Shu led his men to Heshan County, where they stayed at an inn. Aunt Qing was entrusted with delivering Xiao Yunduan's letter to the Xiao family, outlining his opinions on the marriage. The matchmaker arrived and Miss Fong, overjoyed, couldn't stop smiling. She gladly accepted the proposal, and the marriage was officially arranged. Tao Tao, secretly elated, felt as if a weight had been lifted from her heart. Fifth brother and fifth sister-in-law gave their approval, indicating that she had chosen wisely. It was indeed a cause for celebration. The exchange of birth dates took place, with Aunt Qing bringing along invaluable jewelry, clothes, and precious gold and jade ornaments symbolizing auspiciousness. She personally made arrangements with the sect, paving the way for the betrothal and marriage discussions. With no direct elders in Zhao Shu's family, and the patriarch being distant, he took it upon himself to oversee the negotiations. Chapter 1761. A fight. The prospect of having a private conversation with Cao Cao filled Zhao Shu with joy. However, he hadn't anticipated that the Xiao family would stir up another commotion due to this marriage. Being the daughter of the first section of the Xiao family, Cao Cao's hand in marriage had been off-limits due to Xiao Yunduan's influence. Although some hopefuls had initially tried, Ms. Fang promptly rejected their advances, causing them to abandon their aspirations. People had witnessed Xiao Yunduan's capabilities, dissuading anyone from attempting anything unconventional. The first section of the Xiao family wasn't easily fooled. Curiosity buzzed in the air as everyone wondered about the family Cao Cao would be betrothed to. When a matchmaker finally entered the first section of the Xiao family and left with joy, shouting village erupted in excitement. Cao Cao's impending marriage became the talk of the village. Speculations ran wild about which fortunate young master would be marrying Mr. Primus' sister. The first section of the Xiao family was suddenly bustling with activity, as many came to inquire. Amidst the joy and anticipation, Miss Fang knew what was coming. Young Master Zhao was a commendable man, and Cao Cao would surely find happiness with him. However, worries surfaced about the failed attempt of the third branch to inform Xiao Xiaoji about Zhao Shu. Now aware of the situation, Ms. Ma and third uncle might cause a scene. Yet, Miss Fang reasoned that as Cao Cao's future husband, Zhao Shu would eventually visit the Xiao family. The matter couldn't be hidden, and it was, after all, a joyous occasion. There was no need to keep it a secret, and whenever someone inquired, the first section of the Xiao family shared the news openly. When everyone heard this, they were stunned for a moment before smiling and congratulating them. Young Master Zhao had been to the first section of the family of the Xiao family for so many times, and he came here whenever he had nothing to do. He had thought that it was strange, but it turned out that he was here for Cao Cao. That made sense. As for Ms. Ma and third uncle who were interested in Zhao Shu, they did not mention it in front of the first section of the family of the Xiao family. They were not stupid enough to bring it up in front of them. What good would it do them if they caused trouble for the first section of the family? Even those who were envious did not dare to say anything. They were afraid that they would be scolded if they said it. But Ms. Ma and third uncle were different. When they found out about this, their first reaction was disbelief. Impossible. After confirming that it was true, Ms. Ma slapped her thighs and shouted at third uncle angrily. Listen to this. What is happening? What is happening? The first section of the family is bullying us. I'm telling you this isn't over. Xiao Xiaoji was also stunned. She covered her face and ran back to her room in tears. Ms. Ma's fury was so intense that she neglected to console her saddened daughter. Instead, she hastened to the first section of the Xiao family with third uncle. Anticipating a clash, many villagers had their eyes on the unfolding drama. Observing the couple's rapid approach, a curious crowd trailed behind, eager to witness the spectacle. Upon reaching the first section, Ms. Ma and third uncle unleashed their anger, demanding answers. In the midst of a joyful occasion, their intrusion created tension. It seemed as if these two were determined to sour the celebration, portraying the first section of the Xiao family as the ones at fault. Annoyed by their baseless accusations, Ms. Fang responded with a cold and dismissive tone. Chapter 1762. The truth. Ms. Ma's eyes blazed with anger, and through gritted teeth she lashed out, "Sister-in-law, you are shameless. You married off Cao Cao and now you do this to Xiaoji? What has she done to deserve her uncle and aunt scheming against her?" Third uncle, equally furious, interjected, "Elder brother, what are you saying? You claim to care about your brother and treat us well, and yet you treat us like this? Explain yourself or this won't end." Eldest uncle sighed, his face turning red. "I knew this marriage wouldn't happen, but you insisted on it." "I knew it." These words only fueled the anger and sense of injustice for third uncle and Mrs. Ma. They demanded an explanation from the first section of the Xiao family, escalating the confrontation. Miss Fang couldn't tolerate it any longer. "Enough. Silence. Your elder brother might tolerate your nonsense, but I won't. Reflect on whether you even deserve an explanation. What do you think you're doing? Instead of questioning us, question your own worthiness." "You." Third uncle seethed. "Master Zhao initiated the proposal through a matchmaker. I have every reason to accept such a good marriage. What's wrong with that? What do you mean by snatching? This was Master Zhao's decision. He willingly chose to marry into our family. Is that not his prerogative? Are you implying they should remain unmarried unless it's to your family's liking? Your arrogance knows no bounds. Ms. Ma exploded. We were the ones who noticed Master Zhao first. Ms. Fang retorted, that's even more absurd. Marriage involves two families, not just your whims. If both families agree, it's called a marriage. Should they only accept your family's decisions and be forbidden from marrying anyone else? Your arrogance is unbelievable. The villagers exchanged glances and couldn't help but snicker. After all, marriage was a mutual decision between two families. If the man didn't fancy their daughter, who could they blame? But we are brothers. Third uncle erupted in anger. We informed Xiaoji about Master Zhao first and even asked you to mediate. Instead of helping, you chose to marry Master Zhao. Are we still considered brothers to you? Is there no limit to your audacity? Miss Fang grew equally irritated. Third brother, are you forcing me to disclose everything? Unfazed, third uncle and Mrs. Ma aggressively retorted, go ahead. What are you afraid to say? Your excuses won't hold. Miss Fang responded firmly, I'm stating the facts. Your family isn't the only one interested in Master Zhao, there are others too. But did you ever consider that just because you like him doesn't mean he reciprocates? He hails from a wealthy southern family, possesses charm, and has a good personality. He has his pick of any girl. Other families may fantasize, but you directly approached him. Why is it surprising if he rejects you? Had our Yun Duan not become an official, even if Master Zhao fancied Tao Tao, I wouldn't have consented to this marriage. It's better to be grounded and self-aware. Third brother, don't take offense at my blunt words. You initiated trouble and I had to make things clear for you to understand. That's the reality. Do as you please. If you insist, I won't argue further. Chapter 1763, exactly, no matter what, our family hasn't wronged you. We maintain a clear conscience. The villagers couldn't help but nod and murmur in agreement. Indeed. Young Master Zhao's lineage and demeanor are unparalleled. Being in the first tier of the family sets him apart. Absolutely. I wish for young Master Zhao to be my son-in-law too. A dream-worthy match, alas, beyond my grasp. Ah, precisely, who wouldn't desire such a son-in-law? Sister-in-law Fang has no grounds to refuse such a distinguished family just because the third branch has set their sights on them. What a waste. Quite so, I wouldn't refuse either. It's Ms. Ma and her husband who are overreaching. Third uncle and Ms. Ma were so incensed by Ms. Fang's words that they grew even more agitated. Ms. Ma nearly lunged at Ms. Fang, only to be restrained by the family servants. Ms. Ma exclaimed loudly, what's so impressive about your son being a minor official? He can't even hold his ground in the capital, banished by the aristocrats to remote villages. That's his lot in life. He has no future, no prospects. My Luleng will rise to high office. Just wait and see, this isn't over. Enraged, Ms. Fang slapped Ms. Ma across the face. Ms. Ma retaliated, but was held back by the family servants. Third uncle wanted to intervene, but the stern gazes of Xiao Sanlang and the others froze him in fear. Instead, he directed his anger towards eldest uncle, cursing under his breath. Ignoring him, Ms. Fang pointed at Ms. Ma. You dare curse my Yunduan? I'll shut that mouth of yours. What do you know of politics? Let me warn you again, watch your tongue or you'll find trouble knocking at your door. And by then the whole family will rue the day. Young Master Zhao is here proposing marriage, proof that my Yunduan is flourishing. You belittle my Yunduan. Why not acknowledge how much prestige your family has gained from this? Luleng roams freely under the guise of being Yunduan's blood cousin. He ingratiates himself with this person and that, as if our family remains oblivious. All for our family's benefit. I'm not as accommodating as you when it comes to being taken advantage of, yet now you slander and disdain me. Since you hold me in such contempt, why not just end our association? Dare the two of you agree to that? Ms. Ma and third uncle glared fiercely, still seething with anger, yet refrained from further comments. Could they really sever ties? The cautionary tale of the second branch loomed before them. They resisted, unwilling to relent. Though they harbored a belief in Xiao Yunduan's resilience, they remained adamant in their stance. Ms. Fang ordered someone to release Ms. Ma, her tone laced with scorn. Let me be unequivocal, Tao Tao and young Master Zhao are destined to wed. Keep your tongues in check. Should anyone dare besmirch Tao Tao or our family over alleged coercion in this cousin's betrothal, they'll face my wrath. Ms. Ma and third uncle simmered with rage but dared not retort. Ms. Fang's voice turned frigid. If there's nothing further, depart. Ms. Ma and her husband trembled with fury, their arrogance quelled. They muttered indistinctly before storming out, consumed by indignation. Chapter 1764. Tao Tao bullies. When they left, the villagers who were watching the show said some consoling words to Ms. Fang and left as well. Ms. Niu and her husband were among the crowd as well. At first, they were so excited that they wanted to cheer and clap, hoping that they would start a fight. But Ms. Ma and her husband stopped after a while, and the two of them were not very excited at all. Ms. Fang is still so domineering. She has a son who's an official. How can she not be domineering? Otherwise, not many people would be eager to have an official in their family. Hearing this, Ms. Niu got discouraged again. She made up her mind to have her eldest grandson read the books and become an official in the future so that she could be domineering and domineering too. Their eldest grandson, Xiao Xianwen, had attended the village school the previous year, yet he harbored a strong aversion to education. Refusing to rouse early, he frequently arrived late, suffered headaches during writing and memorization tasks, and took frequent absences, resulting in a disarrayed academic record. Despite the familial discord between the first and second branches, their blood ties remained intact. Ms. Niu's obstinacy made it challenging for teachers to discipline her grandson, compounded by his academic struggles, leading to leniency from the instructor. In stark contrast, Xiao Junyan excelled academically, demonstrating proficiency in writing and recitation of classical texts like the Analects of Confucius and Mencius. The teacher even planned to introduce him to the spring and autumn period later in the year. With the family's newfound affluence and Ms. Niu's adoration for her grandson, Xiao Dalong endeavored to support her. However, Ms. Niu harbored suspicions toward Mei Qing, her stepmother, accusing her of orchestrating the discord. Consequently, Xiao Dalong defended Mei Qing, much to Ms. Niu's dismay. In moments of frustration, Ms. Niu would burst into tears, admonishing Mei Qing for alleged cruelty toward her eldest grandson and reproaching Xiao Dalong for allegedly prioritizing his daughter-in-law's interests over his son's well-being. In short, they were in a tizzy and no one could rest in peace. Mei Qing didn't dare to argue with her and cried in front of Xiao Dalong. Xiao Dalong felt sorry and guilty. In a fit of anger, he simply ignored his son and let his parents take care of him. Ms. Niu hoped so. But what did she know? She had taught him a lesson and Xiao Xianwen became more and more useless. Thus, the second section of the family was in a tizzy and wild shrieks and howls for a period of time. In the end, it returned to Comnesayuro. Ms. Ma and third uncle returned home dejectedly, full of anger. As soon as they entered the courtyard, they saw Xiao Xiaoji, who had run back into the house to cry, come out. Her eyes and nose were red. When she heard them return, she looked up at them with tears in her eyes. My daughter. Ms. Ma felt sorry for Xiao Xiaoji and started to cry too. Witnessing the scene, Xiao Xiaoji recognized the bleakness of their situation. Tears streamed down her cheeks once more as she and her mother clung to each other, their cries filled with despair. I can't bear Thizayuro Wuwayuro. Tao Tao is such a bully. I confessed my feelings for young Master Zhao, but Sheyuro, she said, no Thingayuro, if she also likes him, why not speak up? Do you think I have a chance against her? She kept silent but schemed behind my back. She's just too Muchiyuro. Unaware of Xiao Xiaoda's inner turmoil, Miss Fang's resolve wavered. Tao Tao is truly ruthless. Our family won't be pushed around, he'll confront them. Stop. Third uncle's voice dripped with scorn. What do you intend to do? Miss Fang is formidable. Attempting to reason with her is futile. With the multitude of servants in the first branch, you're courting trouble. Chapter 1765. Disappointed, Ms. Ma felt a burning pain from the slap on her face, and she gritted her teeth. Are we just going to let this matter go? Third uncle said nothing. Of course he was also unwilling. According to him, young Master Zhao was initially interested in Tao Tao, his daughter, who was also Xiao Yunduan's daughter. So why couldn't he also be interested in Xiaoji if he was interested in Tao Tao? Wasn't it the same? It seemed likely that interference from the first branch of the family was at play. No wonder they had been unwilling to lend assistance to their family back then. It turned out they had their eyes on young Master Zhao too. They even claimed they wouldn't vie for him. Yet they swooped in without even extending a greeting. When Lulang attains an official position in the Futuria Euro, Dad. Xiao Xiaoji interjected tearfully. How much longer must we wait? Can I even afford to wait? Don't speak out of turn. Both third uncle and Ms. Ma reprimanded her simultaneously. Your sixth brother is poised to reach the intermediate level this year. Indeed, he's on track to become an advanced scholar next year. Perhaps even a primus. That's the truth. Our Lulang outshines Wulong by far. Initially, the notion of achieving the primus status was beyond their imagination. It seemed like a distant dream, too far-fetched to contemplate. What exactly was the primus? It was an honor bestowed only once every 3 years, amidst a vast empire teeming with scholars. The primus was hailed as the epitome of scholarly excellence. How could an ordinary person even dare to dream of such lofty aspirations? But ever since Xiao Yunduan ascended to the position of primus, they began to perceive the title as less exceptional, allowing themselves to entertain the notion. If someone like Xiao Yunduan could achieve intermediate primus status, then surely their son could too. After all, their son had always outshone Xiao Yunduan by leaps and bounds. The couple had indulged in countless fantasies of their son becoming primus and the lavish lifestyle that would follow his ascent to high office. Naturally, they were dismayed when Xiao Xiaoji expressed her grievances. However, Xiao Xiaoji remained resolute. I won't just let it go. Tao Tao stole my chance at marriage. It wasn't merely a matter of family background. Young Master Zhao was exceedingly handsome and dignified. His smiles radiated warmth and kindness. Xiao Xiaoji harbored genuine affection for him. Moreover, young Master Zhao had even bestowed a smile upon her before, suggesting he held her in favorable regard. Third uncle and Ms. Ma shared her fury but felt equally powerless. When Xiao Lulang returned from the school library in the evening, the couple couldn't contain their eagerness to share the news with him. They awaited his decision with bated breath. Recently, Xiao Lulang had secluded himself in the building to study, indifferent to distractions. Upon hearing the news, he too was taken aback, feeling a pang of disappointment. He hadn't anticipated such an auspicious match to fall into Tao Tao's lap. It made sense. Xiao Yunduan now held an official position, even if it was in the modest An's province. Yet it was still a 4th-grade prefecture euro, a distinction many never achieved in their lifetime. Young Master Zhao's decision to marry Tao Tao undoubtedly bore some relation to this. This was all too ordinary. Anyone in his position would know the obvious choice between Tao Tao and Xiaoji. Yet, Xiaoji was his blood sister, while Tao Tao hailed from the esteemed first branch of the family. Naturally, he couldn't help but feel discontented. A sense of despondency crept over him. Why wasn't he the one bestowed with the title of primus, remaining in the capital? If it were him, he was confident he could have surpassed Xiao Yunduan. Setting aside all else, he would have certainly avoided offending a noble and being exiled from the capital. Instead, he would have diligently climbed the ranks step by step within the capital. If young Master Zhao had to make a choice, he surely wouldn't have chosen Tao Tao. Why couldn't it have been him? Chapter 1766. Stupid without knowing, I seem to remember. Didn't young Master Zhao say that the clan arranged a marriage for him? Ms. Ma and the other two got startled. Oh, that's right. How could I have forgotten about this? That's right, I remember it clearly. Young Master Zhao said that. Ms. Ma burst into laughter, relishing in her gloating. So Tao Tao is going to be young Master Zhao's concubine? How intriguing. The first branch of the family is sending their daughter to be his concubine. Humph, she's in for a rude awakening. Xiao Xiaoda's expression darkened as she bit her lip, her heart heavy with the revelation. She was willing to accept being a concubine. Xiao Lulang shot his mother a speechless glance, feeling a surge of disdain toward her. He despised the values upheld by such a family. They were all foolish and ignorant. Yet he too was foolish and oblivious. But what choice did he have? They were his parents. He could never rid himself of them. Hence, he couldn't help but feel a pang of envy toward Xiao Yunduan. He even envied Xiao Yunduan for having such a formidable mother. Though his own father was unreliable, he lacked the courage to cause trouble, unlike his parents. Previously, he hadn't paid much heed to it, but as his perspective widened, he began to recognize their folly. It's premature to jump to conclusions. Who knows what the truth is? If you're curious, go inquire at the first branch of the family. Don't spread baseless rumors. Ms. Ma bristled at his words. This isn't baseless. Why not? Don't go stirring up trouble with Aunt again. Ms. Ma snorted dismissively. Am I supposed to be afraid of her? Xiao Lulang paid her no mind as she continued her nonsensical chatter. Frowning, he interjected, Forget it, there's no need to inquire further. Even if you find out, what difference will it make? Let me handle this. Xiao Xiaoda's tears welled up again. Sixth brother, what do you mean? Impatiently, Xiao Lulang glanced at her. Young Master Zhao and the first branch of the family have already exchanged pleasantries. Their intentions won't change. What more do you want? Our family situation isn't bad now. You can find a suitable match. Xiao Xiaoji bit her lip. But none are as good as young Master Zhao Yuro. If she hadn't been his sister by blood, Xiao Lulang would have scoffed. How many wealthy young masters like Zhao Shu existed? They were truly ambitious, daring to aspire to anything. He harbored similar aspirations, but he understood his limitations. He knew he couldn't reach for them at his current stage. Perhaps in the future he'd have his chance then. Xiao Lulang's tone turned stern as he cautioned, "No one in Shouting Village can aspire to marry someone like young Master Zhao." Xiao Xiaoji blurted out, "If only you had achieved an official position sooner, sixth brother." Xiao Lulang's sharp gaze pierced her, causing her to instinctively retreat behind Ms. Ma, startled. She had never seen such intensity in her brother's eyes before. It made her feel a twinge of fear. Clasping his fists, Xiao Lulang responded calmly, "Nonsense. Do you think it's easy to attain the status of a recommended man or advanced scholar? It requires not just ability but luck as well." Third uncle and Ms. Ma nodded in agreement. That's right. Wulong got lucky. That's right, how is he inferior to our Lulang?" Xiao Lulang was not very happy hearing what they said. Chapter 1767. Xiao Xiaoji is also ready. Ms. Ma snorted dismissively. "Am I supposed to be afraid of her?" Xiao Lulang paid her no mind as she continued her nonsensical chatter. Frowning, he interjected, "Forget it, there's no need to inquire further. Even if you find out, what difference will it make? Let me handle this." Xiao Xiaoda's tears welled up again. "Sixth brother, what do you mean?" Impatiently, Xiao Lulang glanced at her. Young Master Zhao and the first branch of the family have already exchanged pleasantries. Their intentions won't change. What more do you want? Our family situation isn't bad now. You can find a suitable match. Xiao Xiaoji bit her lip. But none are as good as young Master Zhao Yuro. If she hadn't been his sister by blood, Xiao Lulang would have scoffed. How many wealthy young masters like Zhao Shu existed? They were truly ambitious, daring to aspire to anything. He harbored similar aspirations, but he understood his limitations. He knew he couldn't reach for them at his current stage. Perhaps in the future he'd have his chance then. Xiao Lulang's tone turned stern as he cautioned, "No one in Shouting Village can aspire to marry someone like young Master Zhao." Xiao Xiaoji blurted out, "If only you had achieved an official position sooner, sixth brother." Xiao Lulang's sharp gaze pierced her, causing her to instinctively retreat behind Ms. Ma, startled. She had never seen such intensity in her brother's eyes before. It made her feel a twinge of fear. Clasping his fists, Xiao Lulang responded calmly, "Nonsense. Do you think it's easy to attain the status of a recommended man or advanced scholar? It requires not just ability but luck as well." Third uncle and Ms. Ma nodded in agreement. Seeing their reactions, Xiao Lulang realized it was futile to continue. He grew even more impatient and despondent. What kind of family did he have? None of them understood. Though he had contemplated distancing himself from them, he feared they might act recklessly, so he patiently explained his thoughts. It took some time, but eventually third uncle and the others grasped his perspective. However, Xiao Xiaoji remained unconvinced. To her, the first branch of the family had initially let them down and owed them. What difference would it make to cause a stir? Even if they did, their frustration would remain unresolved. As for the benefits they were owed to them, Xiao Lulang sighed inwardly. Clearly this tactic worked on them. Why had he wasted so much effort explaining before? With a cold demeanor, Xiao Lulang retreated to his room, sneering at their compliance. They were quick to heed him now, weren't they? That night, Xiao Lulang visited the first section of the family. Each time he ventured there, the opulence of the first branch irked him, but he had grown accustomed to masking his emotions. First, he offered apologies on behalf of his parents. Then he adopted a diplomatic approach. Given their close familial ties, wasn't it understandable for his parents and Xiaoji to feel hurt and resentful, especially since Tao Tao was the one who had initially disclosed the matter to Xiaoji but failed to follow through? While it might have been acceptable for an unrelated family within their own kin, such actions emotionally wounded their family, leaving their parents and sisters feeling betrayed. This was the crux of their frustration. This ambiguity led to chaos. The first branch of the family was technically justified, yet morally questionable. Left unresolved, the situation would likely cast Tao Tao and the eldest branch in a negative light, branding them as domineering and oppressive. Chapter 1768. Knowing everything. If he persists in discussing such matters, it could adversely affect 5th Casino Euro. Upon hearing these words, eldest uncle was overwhelmed with guilt. He grasped Xiao Lulang's hands, apologizing profusely. The members of the senior branch of the family were visibly disgusted. However, Miss Fang remained unfazed and interjected sharply. "Sixth nephew, your scholarly arguments are sound, but alas, Yunduan isn't present to engage in this discourse. He would have appreciated your intellect. As for myself, while I may lack extensive knowledge, I understand the importance of perseverance. It seems your parents were overly ambitious, wouldn't you agree? Did they truly believe they could aspire to a match like young Master Zhao's family? We are but humble villagers with scant land and no servants. One wonders at the audacity of your parents. Did they not foresee the ridicule? It's laughable how they failed to consider the consequences. Did they not consult you beforehand? Surely you would have dissuaded them. How could they be so naive, yet you remain astute? Hence, there is no cause for resentment on your part. Our acceptance of this proposal was not an attempt to curry favor but a recognition of young Master Zhao's sincerity. He is a commendable individual, and we believe he will treat Cao Cao with kindness. Surely you see the distinction? To reject young Master Zhao outright, regardless of Cao Cao's welfare, would be unjust to both him and our family. Would you not agree? Therefore our conscience is clear. We have not failed your family in any regard. Sixth nephew, I cannot concede to your criticisms of our family. Let the gossips chatter if they must. We have no reason to be ashamed. Who dares challenge us? I am prepared to defend our actions. Xiao Sanlang sneered in concurrence. Mother speaks the truth. We have committed no wrong. Who should we fear in speaking our minds? Yes. Very true. Upon hearing Ms. Fang's remarks, the members of the senior branch of the family straightened their postures, exuding confidence. Eldest uncle remained silent, lips pursed, his gaze averted. Xiao Lulang seethed with anger. It was no surprise that his mother, lacking knowledge, couldn't hold her own against elder aunt. Her sharp tongue had laid bare everything. Were it not for his ability to contain his fury, he might have erupted. A euro yet, our families are connected to euro indeed. Shouldn't your family exercise more prudence and rationality? Their disparate backgrounds were glaringly evident, yet they plunged headlong into proposing to young Master Zhao with unabashed enthusiasm. Fortunately, young Master Zhao was magnanimous and disregarded their audacity. Had it been someone else, they would have faced utter humiliation. It was a display of self-inflicted disgrace. Miss Fang harbored no sympathy for them. She wasn't foolish enough to spurn such a favorable match for her daughter. Xiao Lulang flushed with embarrassment and a hint of shame crept into his voice. Xiaoji is also fifth cousin's sister. She's not much different from Cao Cao. Had elder aunt and uncle advocated for her, young Master Zhao might not have refused Hera Euro. Chapter 1769. End of conversation. You intend to exploit Yunduan's situation now? What were your earlier sentiments? Miss Fang sneered. You can't equate the two. There's a vast disparity between a cousin and a close kin. Moreover, if young Master Zhao isn't inclined, he isn't inclined. Yunduan lacks the authority to coerce him, so why intervene? I'm not disparaging Xiaoji, but is she truly suitable for young Master Zhao? Comparing her to our Cao Cao is laughable. Do you believe young Master Zhao is naive? I once thought you had a sensible mind, but your judgment seems clouded. Xiao Lulang felt his temper flare. One day, he vowed silent lie euro. He collected himself with a deep breath, forcing a smile. Elder aunt, your eloquence surpasses mine. I concede defeat. Let's refrain from discussing this further. I beseech elder aunt and uncle to attend to Xiaoda's welfare and arrange a suitable marriage for her. Please fulfill my request. Regardless, Xiaoji had suffered humiliation due to this affair. Her matrimonial prospects might face hurdles. Naturally, she would marry eventually. It was inconceivable for Xiao family daughters not to wed. Indeed, even the singles of Xiaoding village were sought after. Xiao Lulang aspired for Xiao Xiaoji to wed into a prestigious household. Miss Fang nodded. Certainly, provided your parents' consent, numerous suitable matches abound. Indeed, it was the reality. Xiao Lulang euro, if Xiaoda's betrothal is arranged, elder aunt, ensure she stands proudly. A generous dowry will ensure her esteem in society euro. Xiao Lulang, fearing misunderstanding, clarified his intentions to Miss Fang. He extended his hand to request her dowry. Miss Fang smiled and assented. Fear not, Xiaoji is my niece and she shall receive her dowry. We can spare a few thousand taels of silver. However, convey to your parents the importance of avoiding further trouble and refraining from spreading rumors. Otherwise they may find my door shut to them. Though the third branch of the family was somewhat deserving of repercussions, the engagement of Cao Cao and young Master Zhao would subject Xiao Xiaoji to ridicule. Miss Fang was inclined to extend her support to Xiao Xiaoji, even at the expense of the first branch of the family. Miss Fang would feel remorseful if Xiao Xiaoji faced mockery and jeopardized her marriage. For Miss Fang it was a matter of karma and she felt compelled to act. She couldn't simply ignore the negative consequences. Now that prosperity had visited the family, Xiao Xian had generously shared the family's wealth. Ms. Fang could afford to provide Xiao Xiaoji with 1 or 2,000 taels of silver, fine jewelry and quality attire. Xiao Lulang finally achieved a modicum of success with his request, prompting a sigh of relief. Oh, by the way, didn't young Master Zhao mention he was already betrothed? Why the sudden change? Aunt Qing, the emissary from Zhao Shu, clarified that it was a misunderstanding, and his previous family hadn't arranged any marriage for him. He was mistaken. However, even if there were no misunderstanding, he wouldn't marry Xiaoji. With nothing further to add, Xiao Lulang took his leave. Upon learning of the first branch's willingness to provide Xiao Xiaoji with a substantial dowry, third uncle and Madame Ma found some solace. Chapter 1770. Zhao Shu is here. However, the realization that they had missed out on a promising son-in-law like Zhao Shu and the significant financial loss incurred left them feeling that a mere 1,000 taels of silver was akin to tossing a coin to a beggar. Xiao Xiaoji hurriedly sought out Zhao Shu for clarification on the recent events. Upon hearing Xiao Lulang's account, she was momentarily stunned. Third uncle and Ms. Ma were incensed. Their conviction that the first branch of the family had acted deceitfully and capitalized on an opportunity grew stronger. It was evident to them that the first branch must have been aware of the misunderstanding long before but chose to withhold the information, clandestinely orchestrating the union of young Master Zhao and Tao Tao. Had they been informed earlier about young Master Zhao's misunderstanding, they would have undoubtedly contested it. With the basis for rejection eliminated, there was a high likelihood that young Master Zhao would have consented. The more third uncle and Ms. Ma deliberated, the more indignant they became. They were on the verge of storming over to the first branch of the family to confront them. Before they could act on their anger, Zhao Shu arrived the following day. Since their engagement bound them as family, Zhao Shu's outreach to his fiancée Ci's family was met with tacit acceptance. Zhao Shu was elated yet apprehensive. He specifically requested Aunt Qing's assistance in selecting attire and accessories, meticulously preparing himself before setting out with a plethora of gifts. This time he could bestow gifts without reservation. A potent tool to win favor. As expected, the arrival of young Master Zhao in the village elicited jubilation from its residents. Even the children were ecstatic, surrounding the carriage as it entered the village, chanting joyfully, "Young Master Zhao is here. Young Master Zhao has arrived." Zhao Shu was well prepared for the occasion. He jovially interacted with the children, instructing Tongzhen to fetch a large basket brimming with an assortment of treats: melon seeds, peanuts, sesame nougat, sweet osmanthus, sugar, dragon whiskers, mung bean cakes, pastries and more. He distributed them to the eager children, who gleefully clamored for the snacks. "Easy now, there's plenty for everyone." Zhao Shu chuckled, urging them to visit the first branch of the family. "We've got it all." Upon arriving at the first branch of the family for the first time since the engagement, Zhao Shu adopted a more solemn demeanor. Upon seeing Ms. Fang and eldest uncle, he couldn't help but feel a twinge of nervousness. Nonetheless, he bowed respectfully. Ms. Fang, however, greeted him warmly, insisting there was no need for such formality. Ms. Fang was exceedingly pleased with him, and now that he was her son-in-law, her satisfaction only deepened. She found him exemplary in every aspect and harbored no desire to make things difficult for him. Learning of his family's misfortune and his mother's premature passing only heightened her sympathy towards him. She ushered him inside, assigning Xiao Dalong and Xiao Sanlang to keep him company while Yang Xiaoni and Ms. Su attended to the meal preparations. As Tongzhen and the other gifts were unloaded from the wagon, Ms. Fang couldn't contain her joy, though she couldn't help but express concern over the expense. "How much money did this cost? We have an abundance at home, and with so many items it'll be ages before we use them all. What if they go to waste or get damaged? Please refrain from such extravagance in the future." Zhao Shu reassured her with a chuckle. "It's just some tailored fabric, dry goods, seafood and everyday necessities. Nothing to fret over." Meanwhile, Tao Tao had discreetly retreated to her modest courtyard. Concerned that she might harbor reservations or sadness about the marriage, the third section of the family intended to offer her solace. Chapter 1771. Talk alone. Unexpectedly, Tao Tao realized that Zhao Shu wasn't to blame. It was the meddling of the third party that caused the issue. She harbored no ill will towards Zhao Shu and bore no grudge against their impending marriage. If anyone was to blame, it was the interference from the third party. Upon hearing that Zhao Shu was present and that their relationship had shifted, Tao Tao shyly avoided him. Zhao Shu had always been close to the first branch of the family, engaging in lively conversation with Xiao Sanlang. Xiao Dalong, though quieter, still contributed to the harmonious atmosphere. The three of them shared an amicable bond. As they waited, Zhao Shu's gaze wandered, and he politely inquired about Tao Tao, expressing his desire to speak with her. Xiao Dalong hesitated, while Xiao Sanlang in his typical candid manner interjected, "Shu, you wish to see Tao Tao? Well, that's not for us to decide. You should ask our mother." "Mother, if Shu wishes to speak with Tao Tao, what are your thoughts?" Zhao Shu felt a pang of embarrassment at the straightforwardness of his third brother-in-law. Quickly rising to his feet, Zhao Shu addressed Miss Fang with a smile. "Mother-in-law, I simply haven't had the chance to catch up with Tao Tao, and I'd like to have a chat with her." Just Theta Xiao Sanlang chimed in. "Mom, Tao Tao and Xiao Shu are engaged, they're family now. It's only natural for them to spend time together." After all, it was the way he and his wife had conducted their relationship. Miss Fang shot a disapproving glance at her son's bluntness and then turned to Zhao Shu with a warm smile. "Go ahead, Tao Tao is in her quarters. Have a chat with her. They'll call you when lunch is ready." Tao Tao was accompanied by two maids she had acquired the previous year, Xiangling and Xianxia. Despite Zhao Shu not being particularly frivolous or rude, their engagement was a positive development, and Miss Fang saw no reason to intervene. It was her dense son who seemed oblivious to subtlety. Wouldn't he discreetly inform her? His loud outburst risked embarrassing their son-in-law. Concerned for Zhao Shu's feelings, Miss Fang attempted to console him. Zhao Shu was delighted by Miss Fang's acquiescence. He felt no embarrassment at all. Agreeing eagerly, he proceeded to engage in conversation with Tao Tao. Tao Tao, caught between embarrassment and happiness, found herself lost in contemplation as she gazed at the blooming peonies in the courtyard. Upon spotting Zhao Shu, her cheeks flushed, and though she instinctively wanted to retreat, the knowledge of their engagement held her back. Yet, she couldn't shake the feeling that meeting like this wasn't ideal, hesitating on whether to depart. "Why don't they just leave you?" Zhao Shu's grin widened upon seeing her, his eyes alight with Tao Tao's presence. Advancing eagerly, he exclaimed, "Tao Tao!" Finally relieved of restraint. His triumphant tone only deepened Tao Tao's blush. She shot him a reproachful glare and averted her gaze. "You speak more politely." Of course. They'll be polite." Zhao Shu's happiness remained undiminished. He regarded Tao Tao with a tender smile, as though he would agree with whatever she said. Tao Tao felt even more self-conscious. This man at least before there was a veil of discretion. He had restrained himself, allowing only furtive glances. Though his keen observation always caught her, she could pretend not to notice. Chapter 1772. Great, he's floating now. He had been floating. Xiangling and Xiangyue stifled their amusement, exchanging glances before quietly slipping away. Zhao Shu inwardly praised their discretion, noting their keen perception. He resolved to reward them handsomely in the future. Exhaling with relief, he flashed a bright smile at Tao Tao. Though he had a plethora of thoughts swirling in his mind, he found himself at a loss for words, settling for a smile instead. Tao Tao patiently anticipated his words, but as the silence stretched on, she couldn't help but chuckle. Her laughter only fueled Zhao Shu's foolish grin. "Tao Tao, we're engaged. Why, you're happy to marry me, right?" Tao Tao fought back the urge to laugh out loud. Why was he stating the obvious? Of course she was willing, they were already engaged. And asking such a question in public, Zhao Shu's heart raced with nervousness and insecurity. Fearing Tao Tao's reluctance, he hastened to reassure her. "Independent Illinois treat you well, I promise. Fifth brother made me swear. You won't let me off otherwise." Tao Tao's incredulous stare spoke volumes. To prevent further embarrassment, she interjected, "Is that all you have to say?" Her words instantly lifted Zhao Shu's spirits. "Oh no. I have plenty to say, but am not sure where to begin. Let's take our time, hee." It was as if fifth brother would not let him off. It was a matter of great pride for him. Tao Tao, she couldn't let him continue talking alone, or God knew what else he would say. "You only have these words?" As soon as Tao Tao spoke, Zhao Shu immediately became happy. Of course not. I have so many things to say, but I don't know which one to say. There's still a long way to go. Let's talk slowly, hee." Tao Tao erupted into laughter, her cheeks flushing pink. Just as Zhao Shu assumed she wouldn't respond, she spoke softly, "That's right, there's still much ahead for us. Let's stay together. Tao Tao, I've wanted to tell you this for so long. Just the thought of having you by my side fills me with joy. You and your family are wonderful. Meeting you feels like I've used up all the luck of my life." Tao Tao's heart swelled with sweetness. her eyes glistening with emotion. She gazed up at him, smiling. You're quite the smooth talker. No, I mean every word from the depths of my heart. I swear. Zhao Shu's heart warmed at the sight of her smile. He reached out to hold her hand. I'll stay a while longer. You can't escape me now. Tao Tao instinctively attempted to pull away, but unable to break free, she relented, allowing him to hold her hand. As she prepared to respond, a shrill female voice pierced the air. Tao Tao, what do you think you're doing? Startled, Tao Tao struggled to free her hand from Zhao Shu's grasp. Her hand slipped away like a nimble fish, leaving Zhao Shu feeling regretful. He shot a glare at the newcomer. Xiao Xiaoji, who had slipped in unnoticed, approached eagerly, her eyes alight. Young Master Zhao. The shyness on Tao Tao's face faded, replaced by a cold gaze as she remained silent. Instinctively, Zhao Shu stepped in front of Tao Tao, eyeing Xiao Xiaoji warily. Who are you? Do I know you well? Xiao Xiaoji hastily interjected. Xiao Xiaoji, young Master Zhao. We've discussed marriage, Yuro. Hey, don't talk nonsense. Don't tarnish my name. I've never discussed marriage with you. Chapter 1773. She would not give up. Zhao Shu seethed with anger. True, he lacked parents, but his wealth and vast network of subordinates should have deterred any notion of bullying him. What arrogance led these individuals to believe he was an easy target, free for exploitation? Mrs. Liu, the patriarch's wife, and even a rural girl embodied this audacity. Unexpectedly, Xiao Xiaoda's words ignited Zhao Shu's emotions. Let her speak, Tao Tao gently intervened, tugging at Zhao Shu's sleeve. Though her tone was soft, it carried an icy edge. She's here now. She won't relent until she's made her intentions clear. Observing Tao Tao's understanding, Zhao Shu's demeanor softened. No longer rushed, he nodded, conceding, very well. Yet, Xiao Xiaoda's jealousy surged as she witnessed Zhao Shu's compliance with Tao Tao, their closeness stoking her resentment. Spewing her words with anger, she accused, Young Master Zhao, don't be deceived by Tao Tao. Their family is deceitful. During our marriage discussions, I pleaded for Tao Tao's assistance, but she refused. Yet, she clandestinely ensnared you behind my back. What's admirable about someone who steals her cousin's beloved? Even Elder Aunt orchestrated against us, concealing your family's faults while scheming behind our backs. Young Master Zhao, their cunning knows no bounds. Do not fear fifth cousin. My brother surpasses him in power. He'll ascend to intermediate primus and secure high office. With him there's nothing to fear. Zhao Shu erupted, are you bereft of reason? Fantasies require treatment. Your brother's prowess demands examination. Euro, perhaps a physician can discern your affliction. I reject any notion of discussing marriage with you. My discernment isn't that poor. Numerous suitors seek my hand, yet I've solely considered Tao Tao. From start to finish, she's been the only one I've desired. Since there's been a misunderstanding, allow me to clarify. Our clan has never orchestrated a marriage agreement for me. This was intentional, not an oversight. I mentioned it to dispel any misguided notions. My words were meant to preserve the dignity of my in-laws and Tao Tao. After all, we're kin, aren't we? I hadn't anticipated that my attempt to save face would be misconstrued. Had I known, I would have rebutted your claims outright. Listen closely now. I've never entertained the idea of marriage with your familiaro. Never. Refrain from tarnishing Tao Tao and my mother-in-law's reputation. Otherwise, I won't hesitate to respond firmly. Xiao Xiaoji appeared thunderstruck. Her eyes widened, complexion paled. She shook her head rigidly. No, that can't be. It's impossible. You treated me kindly, smiled at me, even shielded me from those unruly children. How could you? It must be Tao Tao, right? She deliberately lured you away, enticed you. You were interested in me initially. I despise her, loathe her to the core. Chapter 1774. Zhao Shu is extremely depressed. Tao Tao cast a glance at him. Zhao Shu hastily grasped Tao Tao's hand. What's happening, Tao Tao? Please don't believe this. Why is everything you're saying so incomprehensible? It's absurd. In this village, who do I interact with that doesn't wear a smile or extend kindness? When did I ever appear stern as if collecting debts? I have no recollection of instructing children to avoid bumping into you. This is all baseless fabrication. Moreover, Tao Tao is an exceptional person. You're unjustly defaming her. It's evident your character lacks integrity. Xiao Xiaoji grew increasingly agitated, her words pouring forth, until Zhao Shu finally pieced together the situation, rendered speechless. So you've truly misconstrued. Those children were merely playing around with me. I cautioned them to be careful, as one would in a crowd, without singling anyone out, least of all you. Your accusations are unfounded. Zhao Shu felt profoundly disheartened. His demeanor had always been consistente, a smile on his face, engaging in cheerful conversation with others, his kindness genuine and selfless. Yet he was no pushover, no dispenser of unwarranted mercy. Prior to Xiao Xiaoji, no one had misconceived his intentions. Perplexed, he couldn't fathom why she would leap to such conclusions when nothing had changed. He had remained true to himself. How could he have known? Xiao Xiaoda's understanding was limited, buoyed by her belief in her brother's prowess as an intermediate primus. This confidence emboldened her to entertain any possibility. Then Zhao Shu entered the picture. Her arrival, demeanor, words, actions, even her lineage stirred something within her. She believed she could make it happen. Viewing everything through her preconceptions, she naturally veered towards her predetermined narrative. The more she dwelled on it, the more convinced she became. From Zhao Shu's perspective, his conduct was unremarkable, a product of his upbringing. However, in Xiao Xiaoda's eyes, it took on an entirely different hue. Xiao Xiaoji was convinced that their interactions held a special significance, exclusive to her. She firmly believed she was unique. Why else would a wealthy young man like him extend such gentleness and smiles toward her? In the days before the Xiao family's ascent to affluence, when Zhao Shu was still the scion of a rural landlord, he wouldn't have spared them a glance. Yet, Zhao Shu's flustered and exasperated explanation dealt a devastating blow to Xiao Xiaoji. Her heart felt as though it had been dealt a heavy blow, her complexion paling further as her inner world crumbled. I refuse to accept it, I refuse, she cried, vehemently shaking her head. You weren't like this before. I didn't misinterpret. Tao Tao must have ensnared you. Her honeyed words beguiled you into this state. You weren't like this before, you weren't. Zhao Shu choked on his words. You ought to have your brother find you a competent physician. You need a thorough examination of your faculties. I may not know what afflicts me, but you seem quite certain? Preposterous. You're unhinged. Fury ignited within Zhao Shu. Suddenly Mrs. Lu didn't seem so vexing anymore. At least Mrs. Lu wasn't deranged. This individual, however, was truly unhinged. Even Tao Tao was taken aback. She had anticipated that a direct conversation between Xiao Xiaoji and Zhao Shu would clarify matters. Yet, she hadn't anticipated such entrenched stubbornness. Regardless of the evidence presented, Xiao Xiaoji remained steadfast in her delusions. Chapter 1775. Believing in what they chose to believe, she operated on her own distinct brand of logic and reasoning, staunchly adhering to her beliefs regardless of their validity. In that case, there's little more to discuss, Tao Tao remarked, her gaze lingering on Xiao Xiaoji. Your stubbornness is truly unexpected, but you've overlooked something crucial. Reality remains unchanged irrespective of your perceptions. Do you truly believe that Zhao Shu's affection for you hinges on being enchanted by me? So, you sorely underestimate him. He's not easily swayed by others, and I've no inclination to manipulate him. I am betrothed to Zhao Shu. Even without that, he wouldn't choose you over me. He has myriad options. Who do you think you compare to? You've had your say today. It's up to you to reflect. Should you persist in your obstinacy, no one can sway you. Ultimately, you've brought this upon yourself. Initially hesitant to speak so bluntly, Tao Tao had underestimated Xiao Xiaoda's resolve, or rather, she hadn't comprehended the depth of her stubbornness in this matter. Despite the clarity provided, Xiao Xiaoji remained entrenched in her beliefs. Xiao Xiaoji could endure whatever Zhao Shu articulated. She would remain unconvinced regardless. Instead, she maintained that Zhao Shu had succumbed to Tao Tao's influence. However, Tao Tao's words were intolerable to Xiao Xiaoji. Enough. Xiao Xiaoda's resentful glare bore into Tao Tao as she erupted. Why did you steal young Master Zhao from me? Why? You know full well of my feelings for him. You have plenty of options. Why him? Instinctively, Zhao Shu enveloped Tao Tao in a protective embrace. I was the one who proposed to Tao Tao. Please understand. And I implore you, cease professing affection for me. That wasn't my intention. I swear by all that's sacred, shall I make an oath to prove it to you? Tao Tao interjected, what's meant for you I cannot take. What isn't, no matter how you delude yourself, won't materialize. Xiao Xiaoji, if you persist in your fantasies, no one can dissuade you. But you cannot compel others to join you in your reverie. Get someone to escort her out, Zhao Shu muttered, feeling an unprecedented urge to lash out physically. There's no reasoning with her. Let's expedite our marriage, all right? Once we're wed, we can distance ourselves from her. Out of sight, out of mind. With a resounding crash, something within Xiaoxi shattered. A sharp pain gripped her heart, and unable to contain her emotions any longer, she fled, tears streaming down her face. Breathing a sigh of relief, Xiaoxu muttered, "This situation was getting out of hand. Thankfully they're finally gone." Cao Cao shot him a glance, causing him to squirm nervously. Hastily he clasped her hand, pleading, "Cao Cao, please believe me. I have no ulterior motives towards her. I see only you, no one else." Cao Cao chuckled softly, remarking, "But you've inadvertently misled her." Choking back a retort, Zhao Shu pondered for a moment before blurting out, "Maybe I should be more assertive in my interactions, especially with women?" "No, scratch theta Euro, I'll avoid interactions with women altogether except for you." "What nonsense is that?" Cao Cao couldn't help but laugh, tears of amusement glistening in her eyes. "I was jesting. Why be so rigid and petty? This isn't your fault. She's the one who chose to misconstrue things, to fixate on a dead end. There's no one to blame but her. You shouldn't change a thing because of her. That wouldn't be fair." Chapter 1776, asking, "I'm not aggrieved." "Since you've said so, what do I have to feel aggrieved about?" Zhao Shu smiled brightly again. He was so easily happy. The awkward and stiff atmosphere between the two of them disappeared, and they became closer. The two of them conversed at length, and Cao Cao eventually smiled and sighed. "Let's step out." Xiaoxi paid a visit. "I fear my third uncle and third aunt-in-law might stir up trouble again. We should confer with mother, brother, and sister-in-law beforehand, just so they're aware of the potential repercussions should third uncle and third aunt-in-law show up." "Absolutely, it's wise to be proactive." Zhao Shu nodded earnestly before lowering his voice. "I'm deeply sorry for causing such turmoil." "No." Cao Cao shook her head. "You're not to blame. It's inconsequential. We needn't dwell on it." Zhao Shu chuckled. "Fair point." As they approached the main room, Miss Fang emerged questioning, "Why did I hear Ji crying outside? When did she arrive? Did she seek you out? What transpired?" Now was the time to set the record straight. Cao Cao recounted the entire encounter in meticulous detail, while Zhao Shu seized every opportunity to reaffirm his stance and intentions. Listening intently, Miss Fang oscillated between annoyance and amusement. However, mindful of Zhao Shu's presence, she refrained from commenting further, instead offering a placating smile. "That family is notorious for their penchant for discord, always finding fault in trifles. I understand now. You needn't worry nor take them seriously." Cao Cao smiled graciously. "Of course I'll heed your advice. I knew I could rely on you." With a chuckle, Miss Fang suggested, "Feel free to relax in the room or venture into the back garden to gather some seasonal fruits. We have an abundance of delicious options including strawberries, loquats, plums, bayberries and dragon fruits." All right, well go now." Zhao Shu chuckled. "The fruits from my mother-in-law's fruit tree are the sweetest. They're even better than those from other places." Miss Fang was also amused. "Pick more and eat more." "Okay." Observing the departure of Zhao Shu and Cao Cao alongside the maidservant, Miss Fang's lips curled into a sneer. Summoning Miss Su and Yang Xiaoni, she gathered Chunyu and the other maids before marching straight to the third section of the family. Aware of the situation, she couldn't afford to remain idle at home, awaiting the arrival of Ms. Ma and third uncle. Thankfully, Zhao Shu possessed a magnanimous spirit and genuinely cherished Cao Cao. Otherwise, if it were anyone else, how could they not recoil in disgust and discomfort from such circumstances? This issue gnawed at her, a thorn poised to ignite at any moment in the future. What repercussions might it entail for Cao Cao? Did Xiaoxi truly believe she could demand reparation for her dowry? Did she expect the first section of the family to serve as a source of pride for her? Absurd fantasies. Upon learning of Zhao Shu's presence, how could Xiaoxi remain passive? She proved herself to be more sinister and malevolent than her parents. Seething with anger, they casually insinuated that the first section of the family recognized the error of Zhao Shu's marriage and clandestinely intervened. However, Xiaoxi was convinced of this narrative. In her mind, had she been aware of the mistake, she would have implored her parents to reconsider the marriage with Zhao Shu. It could have been rectified long ago. How dare Cao Cao preempt her? To Xiaoxi, Cao Cao's actions were contemptible and audacious. She vowed to expose her. Thus, she clandestinely made her way to the first section of the family to confront Zhao Shu. To her astonishment, she stumbled upon Zhao Shu and Cao Cao engaged in intimate conversation, fueling her envy further. Was this how Cao Cao ensnared young Master Zhao? Young Master Zhao was evidently spellbound by her, reduced to this state. Chapter 1777. Following, however, she never anticipated that their argument would leave her heart shattered. Tears streaming down her face, she dashed back and poured out her grievances to Ms. Ma. Ms. Ma was in the midst of reprimanding her when Ms. Fang stormed Ina Euro with disdain etched on her face. Ms. Fang declared, "If the third branch persists in causing trouble, we'll sever the engagement with them regardless of the consequences." Ms. Ma, too exasperated to contend with Ms. Fang's ire, attempted to console Xiaoji. She assured her that once her brother ascended to the position of primus, he would procure a husband for her far superior to young Master Zhao. After all, young Master Zhao was merely a businessman, a euro, nothing more. She implored her brother to secure a high-ranking official as Xiao Zairota's spouse. But Xiaoji only wept. She harbored affection for young Master Zhao. Before Cao Cao ensnared him, young Master Zhao had been genuinely kind to her. It was all because of Cao Cao. How could she reconcile with that? Xiaoji remained unconvinced. In her heart, she cursed Cao Cao countless times, yet fear of Ms. Fang held her back from taking any action. This was her reality. A naive village girl consumed by hatred, lacking the cunning to execute her schemes. To retaliate against Cao Cao, she needed to be cunning and resourceful. However, Cao Cao always had people around her, and the first section of the family harbored no warmth toward Xiaoji. Finding an opportunity to harm Cao Cao was no easy feat. Furthermore, the fallout from their dispute prompted heightened security at the first section of the family, thwarting any chance for Xiaoji to retaliate. Moreover, she was too ashamed to attempt it. The words of young Master Zhao had wounded her deeply. Zhao Shu strolled alongside Cao Cao through the flower field, the cassava field, and the orchard. Unbeknownst to them, Xiaoji trailed behind, her eyes brimming with emotion. Though Zhao Shu and Cao Cao were aware of her presence, they feigned ignorance. In a village where everyone freely traversed the roads, why should they shun Xiaoji? Why not extend a greeting and invite her to join them? Yet, Zhao Shu harbored concerns that Xiaoji might pose a threat to Cao Cao's well-being. Hence, he instructed Tongzhen and Tongli to shadow them, ensuring Xiaoji kept her distance. Xiaoji quickly discerned their vigilance, deepening her resentment and sorrow. Had Cao Cao truly ensnared young Master Zhao to such an extent? Had he truly forsaken their past connection? Yet, she couldn't bring herself to believe it, swiftly dismissing such thoughts. Word of Xiao Zairota's clandestine pursuits spread throughout the village, spawning unsavory rumors. Some sighed in sympathy, others mocked her, and a few even approached Ms. Ma, urging her to intervene. But what was the use? Their engagement had already been sealed. Interfering now would only invite ridicule. Besides, young Master Zhao was hardly a suitable match for the daughter of a wealthy family in Heshan County. The prospect was entertained solely due to Lord Xiao and young Master Zhao's camaraderie, not out of merit. Why must she endure such hardships? Their compatibility had always been in question. Xiaoji paled in comparison to Cao Cao. While Lord Xiao held an official position, Cao Cao was the legitimate daughter of an official. Xiao Lulang had yet to achieve the status of a high scholar. Moreover, Cao Cao surpassed Xiaoji in every aspect. Initially indifferent, Ms. Ma entertained hopes that Xiaoji would cause a scene. Even if it ended poorly, she couldn't simply let it slide. However, concerns arose that Xiao Lulang might be affected, prompting Ms. Ma to rein in her actions. Meanwhile, Xiaoji wept profusely. Chapter 1778. Zhao Shu's rage. On this day, Zhao Shu accompanied Cao Cao to Jianghu village. As they approached, Xiaoji abruptly dashed out, dropping to her knees in front of their carriage. Tears streamed down her face as she implored Cao Cao to grant her request. Whether her idea was spontaneous or influenced by someone else remained unclear. Yet, amidst her tears and pleas, she didn't beg for young Master Zhao's return. Instead, she beseeched Cao Cao to accept her as a concubine. Her declaration left everyone stunned. Cao Cao, Zhao Shu, Aunt Qing, Xiangling, Tongzhen, and the onlookers from the village were all rendered speechless. Unable to contain himself, Zhao Shu erupted in anger. "Are you quite finished? What of your family? Do you have any regard for them? Do you truly believe I'm one to be trifled with? If I were to truly lose my temper, I could make life very difficult for your kin. Your brother still aspires to the civil service, does he not? Well, if he dares to irk me further, he can forget about it. I'll ensure he never sets foot in the bureaucracy." Upon hearing the news, Ms. Ma and third uncle intended to intervene. However, upon catching wind of Zhao Shu's threats, they hastened to the scene. With a fierce glare, Zhao Shu lashed out at them. "You two cowards! Are you too spineless to defend your own honor? Deal with this shameless wretch swiftly, or I'll do it myself." I'll gladly compensate you after I've given him a taste of my whip. Ms. Ma's face darkened as she directed her ire towards Cao Cao. How can you stand by and allow this to happen to your cousin? You're heartless. Silence. Zhao Shu's whip cracked, eliciting a cry of pain from Ms. Ma. Dare to bully Cao Cao in my presence? Do you have a death wish? You came seeking trouble, yet have the gall to accuse others of bullying? Cao Cao intervened, his voice cold. Xiaoji has clearly lost her senses. Keep a close eye on her, third aunt-in-law, and spare yourself the embarrassment. Anyone can see if I've wronged her. If I were truly malicious, you wouldn't even dare speak up. Your words only prove my leniency. Or are you tempting fate with your accusations? Cao Cao's words only fueled Ms. Ma's fury. The villagers had never witnessed Zhao Shu lose his temper before. They had always regarded him as even-tempered. Seeing him now, their hearts raced with an unexplained fear. He was a young master hailing from a wealthy family in Jiangnan. While he could be amiable when pleased, it was foolish to assume he lacked a temper. He possessed both the means and the confidence to assert himself. With his confidence came the power to potentially ruin the Xiao family's standing. Ms. Ma and third uncle, shocked and enraged, found themselves unnerved without cause. Even Xiaoji appeared taken aback. Through clenched teeth, third uncle retorted, "Stop bluffing. Do you think there's no law here?" Zhao Shu smirked. "Naturally, I uphold the laws of the Great Qin Empire. Care to test me? With a mere utterance, I could ensure your family suffers a fate worse than death, all within the Empire's legal bounds. Would you like to try me?" Third uncle fell silent, his fear palpable. Deep down he knew it to be true. Yet he dared not tempt fate. He wouldn't have dared to provoke even a minor landlord in a neighboring village, let alone someone of Zhao Shu's stature. Aunt Qing cast a glance at the gathered crowd. "Nothing to see here. Scatter, scatter. Tongs Hun, quickly get the carriage ready." Chapter 1779. It worked. Zhao Shu shot third uncle a frigid glare, his voice dripping with disdain. "You're overestimating yourself. I've extended courtesy but you refuse it. I won't bother anymore. Who do you think you are? Your attempts to repulse me are futile. You're unworthy." With that, the carriage departed. Third uncle and his family were seething with rage, their legs trembling, while Xiao Xiaoda's eyes bulged in disbelief. How could this happen? Young Master Zhao, how could he be so formidable? How could he regard me with such contempt? Xiaoji couldn't quite articulate it, but under Zhao Shu's gaze she felt an inexplicable sense of inadequacy. It was as if she didn't deserve to stand before him, as if she were an unwelcome presence. Forget discussing marriage or becoming a concubine. At that moment she couldn't even fathom the idea of thinking about him. Xiaoji sobbed uncontrollably, her hands covering her face in anguish. Ms. Ma, fuming with indignation, forcefully escorted Xiaoji and third uncle away from the scene. Xiao Lulang seethed with rage upon learning of the incident. "What a disgrace! Look after Xiaoji. Don't let her leave the house again," he commanded. Ms. Ma and third uncle remained silent, the weight of the humiliation heavy upon them. They exchanged defeated glances, realizing the gravity of the situation. Zhao Shu's intimidating gaze and haughty demeanor had left them truly shaken. It was in that moment that they comprehended. Young Master Zhao belonged to a different sphere altogether. Recalling how they had presumed a level playing field with him, they couldn't help but feel a twinge of fear creeping in. This was the conduct befitting a young master from a wealthy lineage. Where did they find the audacity to treat him with such disrespect before Xiaoji was equally shaken. It was only now that she realized the truth in his words. She retreated to her room, consumed by bitter tears. Amidst her sorrow, resentment crept in. Why couldn't her brother have attained a higher position, like an intermediate recommended man or a primus scholar? If it had been him instead of Xiao Yunduan, would everything have unfolded differently? Would she not have felt so unworthy in front of young Master Zhao? It was all her brother's fault for being ineffectual. Cao Cao hadn't anticipated Zhao Shu's intensity this time. Yet, in the blink of an eye, Zhao Shu cast a nervous glance her way, his smile cautious. "Cao Cao, I hope I didn't scare you. I'm sorry. I just couldn't contain myself. I won't treat you like that, I promise. I'll heed your words." Cao Cao couldn't help but chuckle, the tension dissipating instantly. "No need to apologize. It's a good thing if you can put them in their place. If Xiaoji keeps causing trouble, who knows what might happen. Continuing like this would only bring disgrace upon their family. They couldn't afford to let it slide, lest they become a laughingstock." Zhao Shu breathed a sigh of relief, his smile brightening. "That's reassuring. Observing his genuine smile and sincere gaze, Cao Cao sighed inwardly. Perhaps this was the lot of every Yonei, as long as he treated her well it sufficed. Regardless of his interactions with others, it wasn't her concern. Zhao Shu's firmness proved effective. The opposition immediately wilted, surrendering like a quail. In mid-June, Zhao Shufang and Cao Cao bid farewell, hastening back to Jiangnan to oversee their business affairs. They also made a brief visit to the capital. Chapter 1780. The couple eliminates bad luck. Zhao Shu didn't have much business in the capital, but he intended to assist Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan with anything they might need help with. He also aimed to gather information about the city. Xiao Yunduan had cautioned him against mingling with the nobility to inquire about court matters or about the crown prince and other princes. Zhao Shu kept this in mind, but he had no qualms about seeking information on other topics. Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian resided in a place like An's province, thus lacking extensive knowledge of the capital's affairs. Given Xiao Yunduan's sensitivity, probing into the capital's intermediate matters could have dire consequences if discovered. Yet Zhao Shu had little to fear. It was more beneficial for him to learn about the situation and share it with them than to remain ignorant. Back in Xiaoding village, Xiao Lulang participated in this year's examination as planned. Perhaps fueled by the provocation he had faced, his diligence finally paid off. He emerged as a recommended man in the fall quarter examinations. Though he didn't surpass Xiao Yunduan, who still remained at the bottom of the rankings, reaching this advanced level was an achievement worth celebrating. The villagers of Xiaoding village looked on with envy. The Xiao family's fortune seemed boundless. They already boasted a primus in Lord Xiao, and now a recommended man. Third uncle and Ms. Ma were brimming with motivation. Their smiles stretched wide, radiating pride that seemed to touch the sky. The couple banished the ill luck of the past days, praising Xiao Lulang as if his rise to an intermediate advanced scholar and eventual government official was a foregone conclusion. They even hinted that Xiao Lulang would navigate the capital's political circles with finesse, ensuring success and avoiding any conflicts with the nobility, implying a contrast with Xiao Yunduan. When the villagers offered their congratulations and expressed envy, third uncle and Ms. Ma made sure to include Xiao Yunduan in the celebrations. Yet there lingered a slight dissatisfaction in their hearts, as they only elevated Xiao Yunduan to the status of primus while lauding their Lulang as a recommended man. So what if Xiao Yunduan held the title of primus? If he could achieve it, then Lulang certainly could too. Previously, Lulang had just faced a bit of bad luck. Therefore, when showcasing her son's accomplishments, she felt the need to subtly undermine Xiao Yunduan. Miss Fang sneered upon hearing the news. She refused to let her family stoop to their level. This is laughable. Let them revel in their arrogance. They're merely deluding themselves. I wonder how they'll come crashing down in the future. A recommended man who ranks third from the bottom in Yuzhang, aspiring to become an advanced scholar and even dream of reaching the intermediate primus status? Ah, what a joke. Despite Ms. Ma and third uncle's determination to hold a grand banquet to celebrate, Miss Fang refused to lend her support. When she pressed Ms. Ma and third uncle about Xiao Yunduan's earlier remarks, they found themselves too embarrassed to offer any rebuttal. Deep down, they couldn't shake off the feeling that the villagers were intentionally comparing Xiao Yunduan unfavorably to Xiao Lulang. The numerous sarcastic comments only fueled their doubts. Rendering Ms. Ma and third uncle speechless, Miss Fang remarked with a smile, "I pity my son. Why would you undermine him while supposedly supporting him? You trample on my son's achievements and then expect me to finance a celebration for yours? Do you think I'm foolish or easy to bully, Ms. Ma, third brother?" Chapter 1781. Don't go, let me make this clear. You're not allowed to meddle in this affair either. If you dare to intervene, believe me, I can rally enough people to turn the tables at the banquet. Ms. Ma and third uncle seethed with indignation. Annoyed, Ms. Ma retorted, "I was just talking casually, it's not that big of a deal. My words have no bearing on Wulong's situation. Sister-in-law, you're being petty and overly serious. Besides, when Wulong passed the exam and Lulang didn't make it to intermediate, you all mocked us. Why should we bother arguing with you?" Third uncle chimed in, nodding in agreement. "Exactly. We couldn't care less, so why are you so bothered?" Miss Fang sneered. "Stop twisting the truth. I distinctly remember you all saying that Yunduan only lucked into his intermediate recommendation and isn't as capable as your Lulang." The recollection incensed Miss Fang. "Enough. Keep spewing lies and I won't hold back. Don't think Lulang's recommendation gives you any power over us. My Yunduan is a prefect and you're still wet behind the ears." Third uncle interjected furiously, All right, I get it now. You're just envious. This is nothing but wounded pride. We extended an olive branch in goodwill, offering you an opportunity. If you're not interested, forget it. And when our Lulang achieves success in the future, don't even think about seeking his help. Exactly. If you think we can't afford a banquet, think again. Not only will we hold it, but we'll make it a grand affair. That's right. Since you're acting like this, don't bother coming to the banquet. Ms. Ma refused to let the first branch of the family enjoy the banquet she had prepared. Perfect. Miss Fong remarked with a smirk. I couldn't care less. I want to attend either way. You can apologize to me first and then extend an invitation. Otherwise, count me out of all your events. Third uncle and Ms. Ma grew even more incensed. She still expected an apology? This sister-in-law was truly living in a dream. Xianxia couldn't help but inquire. Mother, if we skip out on these noodles, does that mean we can skip the gift-giving too? Miss Fong shot a pleased glance at Xianxia. Despite her simple nature, she had a knack for shrewd conversation. Absolutely. You won't see a single coin from me? Xianxia chuckled. Oh, what a silly question I asked. Of course, of course, of course. Third uncle and Ms. Ma were taken aback. They exchanged anxious glances. As thick-skinned as Ms. Ma was, she couldn't retract her statement. Refusing to provide the gift money? Unthinkable. Everyone knew the first branch of the family was affluent, and their familial ties demanded generosity if not more. Their bravado waned instantly. They dared not utter another word and departed crestfallen. Xiao Lulang had been swamped with engagements lately, attending one banquet after another. Upon returning to the village, he overheard some troubling chatter. Incensed, he reprimanded third uncle and Ms. Ma. As a recommended man now, he grasped the importance of maintaining good relations with Xiao Yunduan, particularly until he secured an intermediate advanced scholar position and established himself in the capital. Cultivating a favorable rapport with Xiao Yunduan was imperative. In the bureaucratic realm, connections and patronage were paramount. Even if Xiao Yunduan were ousted from the capital, had still retained some influential ties in the intermediate circles. Chapter 1782. He knows to bear with it. He had already made up his mind. Upon entering the capital, he could either leverage Xiao Yunduan's connections to cultivate relationships with officials, or he could choose to switch sides and align himself with those who had a bone to pick with Xiao Yunduan. Either way, Xiao Yunduan was a factor he had to contend with. Didn't he understand that the first branch of the family was despicable, and Xiao Yunduan was despicable too? Didn't he realize that he would eventually settle the score with them? But was now the time to provoke them? His parents were utterly inept. He wasn't inherently conniving, but he had a penchant for stirring up trouble repeatedly. He was reckless and frivolous. If it weren't for the fact that traditional mourning customs mandated 3 years of mourning for either of them, he might even wish for their demisieuro, just to rid himself of the entanglement. Listen up, both of you. I'll say this only once. Do not go provoke the first branch of the family again. If you can't control your tongue, then keep it still. I won't tolerate a repeat of this, do you understand? Xiao Lulang thundered at third uncle and Ms. Ma. His parents were taken aback. Why, Lulang, why are you siding with the first branch of the family? That's right. Aren't we doing this for your own good? How many recommended men do you think our village produces? Look at how capable you are, Lulang. They're just jealous and resentful. We can't afford to stoop to their level. What was Xiao Yunduan capable of? He was merely lucky, otherwise he would have been ousted from the capital. Useless. If it were his son, such a debacle would never occur. Xiao Lulang felt aggrieved at these remarks. It wasn't just in the village. Even when he ventured out as a guest, the conversation inevitably steered toward the Primus and him. As a recommended man, he felt stifled. The happiness he should have felt was marred by resentment. But what other choice did he have? Could he silence everyone and halt their chatter? Moreover, he had to maintain the facade of a cordial relationship with Xiao Yunduan, despite enduring the envious glances directed his way for having a cousin who was the Primus. Wasn't he deeply aggrieved? Yet, he begrudgingly acknowledged that he received more praise, flattery, and conveniences because of this association. It was utterly vexing and intolerable. His pride prevented him from admitting to his parents that he needed Xiao Yunduan's support at this stage. Thus he could only issue a cold order to them. I know what I need to do. Cease your actions or you'll disrupt my plans. Are we clear? Third uncle and Ms. Ma were taken aback, shaking their heads vigorously. Yes, we understand. We understand now. That's right, we promise not to meddle anymore. Well, refrain from any further actions. Concerned, Xiao Lulang continued to admonish them sternly, his expression icy. With the banquet looming, a representative from the first branch of the family was expected to attend. If he didn't, how could Xiao Lulang secure Xiao Yunduan's assistance? Xiao Lulang went to the first branch of the family to offer apologies on behalf of his parents. Ms. Fang and Xiao Sanlang harbored a strong dislike for the third branch, but they understood the necessity of civility. They didn't want people to insinuate that Xiao Yunduan had become affluent and now held his family in contempt. As Xiao Lulang apologized, Ms. Fang delivered a lecture akin to that of an elder. Xiao Lulang gritted his teeth and listened attentively. Chapter 1783. A family of muddles. The situation had concluded, or so they thought. However, at the banquet, while the gifts from the first branch of the family appeared impressive, they lacked practicality, and the monetary contributions were meager. The grand plan of the third branch to accumulate wealth during the event had floundered. Following the banquet, Xiao Lulang focused on preparing for the upcoming spring quarter examination. Successive matchmakers arrived at Xiao Xiaoda's doorstep with marriage proposals. Ms. Fang identified 2 or 3 families that seemed suitable for Xiao Xiaoji, yet both Ms. Ma and third uncle adamantly rejected them all. Were they incapable of polite refusal? Their haughty demeanor seemed to suggest they could control the heavens, dismissing proposals as if they were beneath their notice. To make matters worse, they flaunted this behavior in the village. Xiao Xiaoji proved no exception to the family's pride. She displayed the same arrogance as her parents. Even the loss of her admirer to Tao Tao failed to elicit much sorrow or indignation from her. No matter young Master Zhao's virtues, he remained a mere businessman. Once her brother attained official status, she planned to marry into officialdom herself, leaving Tao Tao far behind. Ms. Fang sighed in frustration. She utilized the missteps of the third branch as cautionary tales for her own children and in-laws. They needed to recognize their limitations and avoid frivolity that could tarnish their standing. When discussing marriage in the future, they must consider their children's prospects carefully. Underestimating Xiao Yunduan's worth could lead to marrying into an unsuitable family, bringing untold difficulties. Marriage into a prominent family involved navigating a web of elders, relatives, friends, sisters-in-law, and brothers-in-law, as well as managing various household staff. A wife of an official must adeptly navigate bureaucratic social circles, lest she become a laughingstock. Failing to do so could strain her husband's position and their relationship, rendering her life untenable. How could it be so simply? How could someone like Xiao Xiaoji end up as the wife of an official? To be frank, Zhao Shu's family was exceedingly humble. If Zhao Shu were just an official and not from a prominent family like the Yuzhengs, she would never have consented to his union with Tao Tao. Her daughter was merely a rustic girl. Her circumstances improved only because of her brother and sister-in-law. Nonetheless, it was inconceivable for her to marry into such a prestigious household. Ms. Su had harbored hopes of her daughter, Xiao Qing, marrying into an official's family once she came of age. She even dared to dream about an alliance with the third branch of the family. But upon hearing Ms. Fang's remarks, she abandoned the idea. Perhaps it wouldn't be a bad idea for her daughter to wed a merchant or a country gentleman. In late July, Xiao Yunduan received a missive from home and perused it alongside Xiao Xian. All was well back home with various businesses flourishing. Though the flowers in the field weren't as vibrant as before, the Zhang family's tea house production had slightly diminished, and the orchard's fruit yield was slightly lower. Overall, everything remained steady. No significant changes were apparent. Xiao Xian breathed a sigh of relief inwardly. This indicated that her abilities had subtly influenced the plants, optimizing their growth to a degree. As long as the soil and water conditions were suitable and managed properly, yields would remain consistent, a marked improvement over those without such abilities. She felt reassured. After all, it was impractical for her to traverse the world multiple times a year solely for this matter. In this era, transportation was arduous, making such journeys challenging. Chapter 1784. Delivered. She would conduct her rounds once every 3 to 5 years, diligently fortifying and refining her efforts each time. It was an achievable task. In the correspondence, they discussed Xiao Lulang's examination results. Despite ranking third from the bottom, it was still a commendable achievement. Xiao Xian beamed. Impressive that Xiao Lulang managed to secure a rank. The third branch must be bursting with pride. Third aunt-in-law must be positively beaming. Xiao Yunduan echoed her sentiment. Indeed, the third branch is elated, but with our mother here, they dare not overstep. Xiao Xian nodded in agreement. Without Miss Fang's presence, eldest uncle might have been so overjoyed that he'd consider bequeathing more than half of the family's estate to the third branch. The conversation lingered on. Xiao Yunduan mentioned Xiao Lilang's lack of ambition to advance to the rank of intermediate advanced scholar, a sentiment Xiao Xian shared. As long as Xiao Lulang remained neither an advanced scholar nor an official, Xiao Xian worried about potential repercussions for Xiao Yunduan. Xiao Yunduan saw no issue. He had acquired ample study materials from Xiao Lulang and possessed a solid foundation. Passing the intermediate examination after a few days of dedicated study was well within his capabilities. Yet, advancing further posed a considerable challenge. It was worth noting that only 200 to 300 individuals were admitted as advanced scholars during the spring examinations. Not only did scholars from across the empire participate, but also seasoned veterans and previous candidates. The competition was fierce. He understood Xiao Lulang's limitations. In such a cutthroat intermediate competition, Xiao Lulang had no chance at all. Along with the letter from Yuezhing Xiao came the customary assortment of fruits. Mid-June marked the season for various fruits to ripen and be harvested. Yuezhing Xiao had already dispatched emissaries twice before, and this delivery marked the third. Dragon fruit, lychee, longan, mango, papaya, pineapple, honey peaches, and more overflowed from the 5 large baskets as was customary. Harvested in the early morning and swiftly plucked from the trees, they arrived in An's province 2.5 days later, still impeccably fresh. The baskets, half the height of a man, brimmed to the top. How could Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan consume such abundance? 2 baskets were sent to Zheng Sang and the others, allowing them and Meng Wanfa's entourage to savor these tropical delights not commonly found in the northern regions. Though modest, there was enough for everyone to sample a few lychee, dragon eyes, and a mango. Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan retained 1 basket from the remaining 3, distributing some among the servants. The other 2 were dispatched to the court for Jia Heming to sample, with a portion reserved for Mrs. Guan, who resided in the back office. It would be remiss not to share with her. In any case, such matters were inconsequential to them. On another note, despite having a surplus stored in her interspace, she could only indulge in these delicacies discreetly. Each time these shipments arrived, she covertly retrieved some for herself. Despite the orchard's expansion, the overall yield remained inadequate. On average, each fruit tree only yielded a few hundred mu. The output wasn't even sufficient for local consumption, let alone exportation. Fresh fruits weren't conducive to long-distance transportation, especially considering the rugged terrain, scorching weather, and lack of effective preservation methods, all of which would inevitably lead to significant losses. Naturally, immediate sale was the most pragmatic option. Chapter 1785. Estrangement. Though An's province and Yuzhang were a mere 500 miles apart, the road conditions were deplorable. Rarely did individuals from Yuzhang venture here, resulting in minimal interaction between the 2 regions. Furthermore, tropical fruits were scarce. Not a single specimen graced the markets of An's province, leaving its denizens oblivious to the existence of the luscious southern delights already adorning the Yuzhang market hundreds of miles away. Upon receiving the lychees, longans, mangoes, and dragon fruits at the government office, the scribes indulged, their eyes alight with delight as they lavished praise upon the fruits. This is lychee and longan. As for these mangoes and dragon fruits, I've never tasted anything like them. Truly delicious. Lord Xiao's generosity knew no bounds. To share such precious fruits with everyone was a gesture of unparalleled kindness. Deputy Prefect Guan, known for his fondness for good food, partook eagerly. Similarly impressed and envious, he couldn't help but jest. Lord Xiao's acquaintance must possess an abundance of such fruits. They've sent them here multiple times already. Lord Xiao's family must be weary of them. It's a shame we can't afford such luxuries, or else we could have requested more from Lord Xiao's friend Euro. His sarcasm was thinly veiled. Lord Xiao and his family must be tired of these leftovers, hence their arrival here. Why treat them like treasures? If Lord Xiao were truly sincere, wouldn't he have sent more? It was merely lip service. So why rejoice? They don't value you, they're simply discarding their excess. His words cast a pall over the gathering, each individual exchanging uncomfortable glances. However, given his position as deputy prefect, none dared to challenge him openly. They could only offer strained smiles and remain silent. Jia Heming, who had a public falling out with him long ago, refused to humor him. With a sneer, he retorted, "So what if Lord Xiao's family is tired of them? That doesn't diminish the value of these fruits. Lord Xiao shared them with everyone, showing that he cares for us. Otherwise, why would he bother? We should be grateful. If it weren't for Lord Xiao, we wouldn't have the opportunity to taste such exquisite fruits in our lifetimes. If you don't appreciate them, that's your prerogative. But to demand more from Lord Xiao? That's beyond audacious. Humph, it's better if you don't offer them to me. I'll spare us from hearing your endless sarcasm and complaints. Deputy Prefect Guan erupted in anger. Jia Heming, what are you insinuating? I never said that. Don't pin things on me just because you're close to Lord Xiao. Jia Heming sneered back. You know perfectly well whether I've falsely accused you or not. Most of the scribes sided with Jia Heming, feeling that Deputy Prefect Guan had overstepped. Sensing an imminent confrontation, they hastened to intervene, attempting to smooth things over with diplomatic language. They couldn't afford a confrontation. Stirring up trouble would only draw Lord Xiao's attention, leading to unnecessary turmoil. Clearly apprehensive of the consequences, Deputy Prefect Guan refrained from leveraging his authority to chastise Jia Heming. After uttering a few terse remarks, he stormed off in a huff. Jia Heming harbored no ill will towards him and let the matter rest. Chapter 1786. Sooner or later, however, following this incident, Deputy Prefect Guan found himself even more diminished in the eyes of his peers. His abandonment of those who stood by him during adversity only served to highlight his lack of gratitude after reaping benefits. His sarcasm and dissatisfaction painted him as selfish and utterly devoid of empathy. Who would willingly associate with such a cold-blooded individual if not for ulterior motives? Deputy Prefect Guan seethed with rage. As a deputy prefect, he had lost all semblance of prestige and dignity within the government office. Since the incident with the account book, contempt from Jia Heming and his cohorts had intensified. Meanwhile, Lord Xiao effortlessly endeared himself to others. A few meager fruits were all it took to elicit gratitude from everyone. Truly remarkable. Although the spectacle concluded swiftly, Xiao Yunduan was aware of the incident. He chuckled at Deputy Prefect Guan's outburst but didn't take it to heart. That was all that remained of his tolerance. He retained Deputy Prefect Guan solely to avoid further disruption until his wife gave birth. Yet, in the shadows he was far from idle. His knowledge of the three prominent families and various bandit hideouts had expanded significantly. With ample evidence, including Deputy Prefect Guan's past deeds, Xiao Yunduan had initiated thorough investigations. His administration couldn't afford to harbor someone in the deputy prefect's position who didn't align with his agenda. His ending was already set in stone. Sooner or later. Towards such a person, he naturally could not be bothered to argue with him over small matters. At the end of July, Qiao Xian with her swollen belly finally went into labor one night. Since July, the eastern courtyard of the state government had been diligently preparing. Midwives, baby clothes, swaddling blankets, gauze, cotton, and an array of medicines stood ready for any eventuality. 2 weeks prior, the midwives took up residence in the eastern courtyard, providing a sense of reassurance to all. After all, Qiao Xian could go into labor at any moment after July. Both novices, the couple couldn't contain their nerves, oscillating between joy and worry, each trying to shield the other from their own anxieties. Yet, their conflicting emotions were palpable. Finally, the awaited day arrived. When the midwives rushed in to announce that Madame's water had broken, a collective sigh of relief escaped their lips. It was time. But their relief was short-lived as nervousness crept in once more. Don't be frightened, Xiao Yun sat by the bedside, gently holding Qiao Xian's hand. Addressing the midwives, he implored, "Take excellent care of my wife. Don't leave her side. I'll be outside. If you need anything, call for me. I've heard that childbirth can be excruciating. If my wife is in pain, please find a way to alleviate it." The midwives concealed their amusement. Wasn't it common knowledge that childbirth was agonizing? Why else would it be likened to traversing the gates of hell, with some even teetering on the brink? They understood their lord's anxiety for his wife's well-being. Having resided in the state government office for over half a month, they witnessed firsthand his nervousness and adoration towards his wife. However, they couldn't voice their thoughts directly. Chapter 1787. About to give birth, Lord, rest assured. Madame's baby is positioned perfectly, and she's in excellent health. The delivery will undoubtedly be smooth. Indeed, indeed. Lord, you're overly concerned. I've delivered countless babies in my lifetime. Madame's condition is ideal. She'll be just fine. Of course, labor pains are inevitable for every expectant mother. It's a small price to pay for the miracle of childbirth. I'll pass quickly. Madame, this is your first child. Subsequent deliveries will be easier. Yes, yes. The midwives prattled on, their nonsensical chatter soothing Qiao Xian's anxious heart. Childbirth wasn't a walk in the park. Even if she'd never experienced it firsthand, she'd witnessed the trials of labor. Especially in ancient times, with medical knowledge practically non-existent, Childbirth was akin to surrendering to fate, relying solely on luck. Fear lingered, but it wouldn't deter her from the inevitable. Countless women had borne children naturally, she could too. Xiao Yunduan felt a semblance of relief. He smiled at Xiao Xian. You heard them, my dear? The midwives are seasoned professionals. If they assure us that everything will be fine, then it will be it'll be waiting eagerly for you and our child. Although Xiao Xian felt no abdominal pain, she dared not move, fearing the sensation of amniotic fluid trickling down. She looked up, smiling at Xiao Yunduan as she intertwined her slender fingers with his. I understand. You can leave now. Giving birth was a vulnerable moment, and she didn't want him hovering over her every second. Besides, there was little he could do to assist. If he could, perhaps they could reconsider. Xiao Yunduan enveloped her in a tender embrace, planting a gentle kiss on her forehead before reluctantly pulling away, his heart pounding with a mix of emotions. He grasped her hands tightly, unable to tear his gaze away. His lips trembled, a torrent of feelings flooding his heart. Anticipation, excitement, tenderness, nervousness, worry. Countless words clamored for expression, but he struggled to find the right ones. I'll be waiting for you. Xiao Xian's smile was reassuring. Don't worry. I'm not worried. Not. And you shouldn't be either. Okay. As they seemed to bid farewell for an uncertain duration, the two midwives sighed inwardly. Their lord and lady undoubtedly shared a strong bond, yet their parting was bittersweet. Lord, it's best you leave now. Madam needs rest, and it's still early after her water broke. Yes. Lord, go attend to your duties. There's still time. Xiao Yunduan was taken aback. Too early? Confusion clouded his thoughts. He had anticipated the birth to be imminent. Xiao Xian shared his bewilderment. Despite her water breaking, she felt no contractions. Wasn't childbirth supposed to be excruciating? Please go. They'll manage. They'll be just outside. I'm not going anywhere. I'll write a. After much coaxing, the midwives finally persuaded Xiao Yunduan to step out of the delivery room. Though he remained nearby, his heart remained tethered to Xiao Xian, waiting anxiously outside the door. Chapter 1788. Pain. In addition to the two midwives, Li Xiao was also present in the delivery room. Soon Miss Song and Ms. Miao, accompanied by Qiao Qiao and Qing Lian, arrived after receiving the news. The prospect of Madame giving birth filled everyone with joy and anticipation. After exchanging pleasantries with Xiao Yunduan, Miss Song and Ms. Miao changed into clean attire, washed their hands and hurried into the delivery room. Xiao Yunduan refused to leave the two midwives alone with Xiao Xian, despite their careful screening and assurance of competence. However, when the midwives mentioned that the process would be prolonged, they meant it. Xiao Xian drifted in and out of consciousness, sipping on chicken soup and millet porridge. As darkness descended, the room's lights grew brighter, and she finally felt the onset of labor pains. The pain intensified gradually, growing unbearable with each wave, akin to a relentless tidal surge. Xiao Xian clenched her teeth, her body tensing involuntarily with each wave of agony, leaving her dizzy and breathless. A strangled moan escaped her lips as she endured the excruciating pain of childbirth. Her distress seemed to rouse Xiao Yunduan's anxiety, his urgent voice barely audible through the door, prompting tears to well in her eyes. Chaos ensued in the delivery room. Miss Song and Ms. Miao worked tirelessly to calm Xiao Yunduan, who was on the verge of bursting into the room. Meanwhile, Madame Xiao endured until her cervix fully dilated, much to the relief of the midwives. Upon hearing their assessment, Xiao Xian felt a glimmer of hope. She took a few sips of ginseng soup and endeavored to follow their instructions, determined to see the process through. The pain remained intense, but in this moment there was hope. With determination, Xiao Xian persevered, and the delivery progressed smoothly. Within mere minutes, she sensed a release, her limbs relaxing instinctively. Before the haze of exhaustion lifted, she was greeted by the cries of her newborn and the jubilant laughter of the midwives and Miss Song. She's delivered the baby. It's a young master. Congratulations, Lord and Lady. Congratulations, Madam. Congratulations, Lord. Swiftly, the midwife swathed the infant in a soft crimson blanket and presented him to Xiao Xian with a beaming smile. Behold how handsome your young master is. His hearty cries signify his robust health. Born to parents like you and Lord Xiao, he's destined for a life of privilege and prosperity. The midwives chuckled, showering the newborn with praise. Though Xiao Xian could barely discern their words, her heart swelled with tenderness as she gazed at her son, a gentle smile gracing her pale features. This tiny being was her son, hers and Xiao Yunduan's. She had just brought him into the world. Chapter 1789. Child. This newborn was her most intimate kin, connected to her by blood. A treasure nurtured within her own body. A soft, contented warmth filled her heart, brimming with joy. She longed to reach out, to cradle him in her arms, to caress his tender skin with her fingertips. But her weakened state left her unable to raise her hand. With a gentle smile, one of the midwives carefully placed the child in the cradle beside her bed, while the other directed Wuxia and Ms. Miao to assist. Xiao Xian still had tasks ahead. Changing clothes, tidying the bed, eating. She would be occupied for some time. Miss Song had hurried out to inform Xiao Yunduan of the wonderful news. In fact, the baby's cries had already reached outside. The delivery room door remained ajar, with only a lowered curtain for privacy. The atmosphere was jubilant. Upon hearing the news, everyone offered their congratulations to Madame for delivering a young master. Xiao Yunduan's youthful and handsome face radiated joy, his eyes sparkling with delight as he continued to praise. Upon learning of the proceedings within, he thanked Miss Song before considering entering the room. "Thank you for your assistance, sister-in-law." Miss Song smiled warmly. "My lord, your kindness knows no bounds. Without you and my wife we wouldn't have managed. Witnessing the birth of the young master fills me with immense joy. You and Madame are truly blessed, and your fortunes will only multiply in the future." With these words, Miss Song entered the room to lend a hand. Xiao Yunduan paced the hallway, his gaze flitting towards the room. Eventually he found solace, though his smile remained irrepressible. At last, the weight of the joyous news settled firmly within him, and a smile tugged at his lips. He had a son, a child born of their love. He had become a father. He had yet to lay eyes on the little one his wife had brought into the world, but regardless of appearance, the child was their cherished treasure. Moreover, his wife was radiant with beauty. Surely their little one would be equally adorable. After patiently waiting for about half an hour, everything was finally in order. The bedding had been changed, rendering it clean and plush. Though Xiao Xian hadn't had the chance to bathe, she felt refreshed after wiping herself down with a dry towel and donning clean pajamas. It had been too long since she had felt such relaxation. It was utterly gratifying, akin to a rebirth. Nestled against the bed's headboard, she gazed fondly at her slumbering son in the cradle before her, her eyes brimming with warmth and adoration. She whispered to him in her heart, "Everything I've endured, it's all for you. Every hardship, every sacrifice willingly given. As long as you're healthy and safe, it's all worth it. You must thrive, my darling." As Xiao Xian contemplated her baby, Xiao Yunduan entered the room. With Miss Song, the midwife, Wuxia, and the others having departed, the family of three was left in solitude. Xiao Xian's eyes brightened. "Husband." Xiao Yunduan settled beside her on the bed, enveloping her in his arms. He tenderly caressed her face, sympathy evident for her pallor. Pressing a gentle kiss to her lips, he murmured, "Thank you for everything you've endured." Chapter 1790. Thank you. Despite the smooth delivery, Xiao Yunduan couldn't help but feel a pang of fear at the sight of the blood on the other end. His wife had sacrificed so much and worked tirelessly for the birth of their child. This level of hardship wasn't fleeting. It had endured for months. And yet, raising a child would prove even more challenging. The depth of his compassion deepened at the thought. Initially, Xiao Xian hadn't dwelled on it, but as she found solace in his embrace, she suddenly felt overwhelmed, on the verge of tears. Xiao Yunduan pressed a tender kiss to her forehead, comforting her with gentle words as they lingered together before turning their attention to the baby in the cradle. The infant lay still, unable to move with his tiny hands. Xiao Xian dared not risk having him sleep on the bed beside her. What if the blanket covered his face, or if she accidentally shifted and pressed against him? After the midwife had instructed her to feed the baby, she nursed him until he drifted off to sleep, then carefully placed him back in the cradle. Beneath the soft blanket, his small head, delicate features, and dark hair were revealed as he slumbered peacefully, radiating an undeniable charm. "He's so cute." "Yes, he's still very obedient. I heard that babies love to bathe. Let's bathe him together in a few days, okay?" "Okay. However, he might be afraid when he enters the water. We have to let him hold our fingers. That way he should feel safe. He's still young." "How would he know this?" "Who said that?" "He understands." All right, I understand." The two of them gazed at their baby with shared joy and wonder, their words overlapping in their excitement. After a while, Lichio and Wuxia entered with stewed black chicken, red dates, and wolfberry soup. "Madam, have some." The midwife and Auntie Song mentioned that you need to replenish your blood. Xiao Yunduan accepted the bowl. "Pass it to me." After ensuring Xiao Xian had consumed half a bowl of chicken soup and eaten a few morsels of chicken, Xiao Yunduan rinsed her mouth and smiled, "Just lay back and get some rest. Take the baby to the room behind the partition and let Nanny, Liqiu and Kaihua look after him. Don't worry." The choice of a nanny had already been made, as Xiao Xian wasn't certain if she would have enough breast milk, and there were no suitable baby formulas available. In such circumstances, finding a nanny was their best option. While the less fortunate could make do with whatever was available, since they had the means to provide better, they couldn't settle for less. Nannies weren't easy to come by, and they needed to be arranged in advance. According to the midwife's advice, Xiao Xian would require a nanny's assistance too. Hearing his words, Xiao Xian felt conflicted and reluctant, but she knew she couldn't manage everything on her own. Exhausted, she glanced at the still sleeping baby and nodded. She mustered a smile and said, "You must be tired too. Go and rest." "Of course, don't worry." Xiao Yunduan kissed her forehead and instructed the maid to carefully carry the cradle away. Xiao Yunduan longed to touch the child's face, but fearing his rough fingers might harm the delicate skin, he refrained from doing so. Observing Lixia and the others wheeling away the baby's cradle, he tucked Xiao Xian in and offered her gentle reassurance before departing. Chapter 1791. Preparing to move. At this moment, it was almost dawn. In the dark blue and black intermediate sky, the morning star was as dazzling as a diamond. It hung alone in front, its position so low that it seemed like it could be raised with a raise of its hand. It was almost dawn. Xiao Yunduan was so excited that he was no longer sleepy. He simply went to the study and sat down quietly. He wrote a few words and waited for dawn. He and Xiao Xian's baby was finally born smoothly. He was both happy that he was a beginner father and felt that this was a good sign and a good sign. His child was born successfully, and his wife seemed to be in good condition. After a few days of nourishment and confinement, her body was still very healthy. Then he could plan his next step. He could not continue like this. Sooner or later he would be ready to take action. He had been in An's province for almost a year, but he had not done anything. He had taken control of the prefect's office and solved the problem of the rice seeds and the debt owed by the state office, which was nothing to Xiao Yunduan. Any one of these three questions was enough to crush a normal prefect lord to the point where he had no choice but to submit. But for Xiao Yunduan, it was just a passive way to solve the problem. This was worlds apart from his beginner's heart. A dark greenish-white hue slowly emerged on the eastern horizon, gradually diffusing and intensifying until the sky brightened with the breaking dawn. As the new day began, the buzz of excitement swept through the city. Word quickly spread that Madame Xiao had given birth to a young master, making Lord Xiao a father. Commoners offered their heartfelt congratulations to Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian. Under Lord Xiao's capable leadership, officials and landowners had fallen into line, abandoning their former bad habits and approaching matters with integrity. The once unruly three prominent families found themselves reined in by Lord Xiao's firm hand, earning him the wholehearted admiration of the populace. And to add to his accomplishments, Lord Xiao had swiftly overseen the harvesting of the grain upon his arrival. These seeds, transported through alternative channels by Lord Xiao himself, had flourished despite the year's typical weather conditions. The rice fields were now brimming with promising crops, a testament to Lord Xiao's foresight and resourcefulness. As the rice continued to grow, it became evident to everyone that this year's crop was flourishing exceptionally well. Surveying the fields, Xiao Yunduan marveled at the long, robust stalks of rice. Their substantial size and weight indicated a bountiful yield. According to seasoned farmers, this year's rice production was expected to surpass previous years by at least 30%. In particularly fertile fields, meticulously tended to by diligent workers, the increase in output was even more pronounced. The superiority of these crops was apparent when compared to the rice grown by wealthy landowners through their own channels. Food, the lifeblood of the people, took precedence above all else. The increased food production brought immense joy to the people of An's province, who expressed profound gratitude for Lord Xiao's benevolence. They credited him with coming to their aid like a bodhisattva. With Madame Xiao's successful childbirth and Lord Xiao's newfound fatherhood, the community rejoiced wholeheartedly. They extended their heartfelt wishes for the longevity and happiness of the entire Xiao family, including the newly arrived young master. Chapter 1792. Happiness. The news of Xiao Xian's successful delivery spread quickly among the prominent families, prompting them to dispatch women to deliver congratulatory gifts. Following An's province's customs, only close relatives and dear friends would attend the third birthday celebration, while the one-month-old celebration typically saw a broader circle of guests. During the confinement period, it was customary to send gifts and visit the mother's home to offer congratulations and support. Guests wouldn't bring gifts on the day of the banquet, as the host would have already prepared tokens of appreciation, usually in the form of wedding noodles and eggs. In light of this, the various families began preparing their gifts, organizing groups to send their regards. Upon learning of Xiao Xian's delivery, Mrs. Guan's heart sank. While she didn't wish harm upon Xiao Xian or the child, she harbored hopes of a difficult delivery, perhaps even near death. In her ideal scenario, the child would have been a girl, complicating Lord Xiao's sentiments and tarnishing the couple's relationship. Such an outcome would have brought her immense satisfaction. Unexpectedly, everything went smoothly with the delivery, much to Mrs. Guan's dismay. Not only was it Xiao Xian's first child, but both mother and son were safe and the child was a boy. Mrs. Guan couldn't find it in herself to be pleased that Lord Xiao now had a legitimate heir. Despite her unhappiness, Mrs. Guan felt obligated to visit and express her concern, given her proximity to the family as the deputy prefect's wife. With gifts in hand and accompanied by Nanny Ding and Jinju, Mrs. Guan made her way to the east courtyard. Meanwhile, Xiao Xian had already awakened. Newly minted as a mother, she was brimming with excitement and couldn't sleep for long. Just as she had finished drinking some water and millet porridge, the baby woke up, prompting the attendants to tend to him. His cries were delicate and heartrending, stirring empathy in anyone who heard them. Xiao Xian, separated from the commotion by a partition and screen, instructed Lixia to inform the attendants that she would bring the child over later. The baby instinctively sought comfort in his mother's arms. As Xiao Xian gently patted him and spoke soothing words, the baby quieted down, finding solace in her familiar voice and heartbeat. With tearful eyes, he gazed at Xiao Xian, melting her heart with his innocence and vulnerability. She couldn't help but feel a surge of love for her son. What an endearing little creature he was. After nursing the baby and lulling him back to sleep, Xiao Xian entrusted him to the nanny, who carefully placed him in the cradle. Upon learning of Mrs. Guan's visit, Xiao Xian hastily instructed Lixia and Liqiu to help her freshen up, ensuring she looked presentable before welcoming their guest. Aware of the baby's fragility, having only recently emerged from the safety of his mother's womb, Xiao Xian was cautious about exposing him to the outside world and its array of bacteria. She hesitated to let outsiders near him, fearing he might not cope well with the new environment. For the next 10 to 20 days, she resolved to keep him shielded from visitors. The last thing she wanted was for any harm to befall him. As Mrs. Guan entered the room, she found Xiao Xian lying on the bed, a serene smile gracing her features despite the lingering paleness from her recent childbirth. Chapter 1793. Comprehension. She looked extremely energetic. Mrs. Guan got even more depressed. She forced a smile and greeted Xiao Xian with a smile. Madame Xiao, you are so lucky." Xiao Xian nodded with a smile. After exchanging some pleasantries, Mrs. Guan expressed that she wanted to see the baby, but Xiao Xian turned her down. "The baby has just fallen asleep and he will wake up very soon. I am sorry, but we can ask you to see him when he is 1 month old." Mrs. Guan didn't push to see the baby, but Xiao Xian's words left her feeling slighted. She sensed a subtle condescension and promptly masked her disappointment before bidding her farewell. Xiao Xian paid her reaction no mind, convinced that Deputy Prefect Guan's woes were just beginning. Even a deputy prefect finds trouble. Surely she's not exempt. Meanwhile, Xiao Yunduan had intended to return home earlier to spend time with his wife and son, but office duties kept him busy until noon. Upon his arrival, he changed into fresh clothes as his wife had instructed. During this delicate time, they couldn't risk bringing any dust near their fragile baby. Xiao Xian smiled warmly as she saw him, her lack of inhibition evident. "Welcome back." Xiao Yunduan's gaze lingered on her, his heart quickening. It had been too long since they last shared intimacy. As any man would, he yearned for it. Carefully, he settled beside her on the bed, gently cradling their child. As he felt the softness of the swaddled bundle, happiness and tenderness flooded his heart. After feeding the baby, Xiao Xian put down her clothes and realized what she looked like in front of him. Stunned, she couldn't help but laugh. The contrast between being a mother and not was stark. In the past, she'd never have felt so unhurried, let alone unembarrassed. Now though, it all felt perfectly natural. Xiao Xian had a sudden realization. She used to judge mothers' nursing in public harshly, seeing it as shameless. But now she understood. In this phase, maternal love took precedence. Everything else faded in comparison. This transformation felt organic yet inexplicably a truth she couldn't deny. She imagined if Xiao Yunduan caught her nursing in public, she'd have blushed fiercely, unlike her current nonchalant demeanor. Xiao Xian gazed fondly at the baby in her arms, struck by his beauty. "Husband, would you like to hold him?" she offered, her eyes sparkling. Xiao Yunduan's face lit up and he eagerly reached out his hand. However, after a few failed attempts, Xiao Yunduan withdrew his hand with a sheepish grin. "Maybe not, I'm afraid it'll be too clumsy." He couldn't help but marvel at the fragility of his son. Xiao Xian chuckled at his honesty, leaning comfortably against him. "Well, you'll have your chance when he's a bit sturdier." "Okay." Chapter 1794. Not waiting anymore. The child was still too young to need a name, but Xiao Xian couldn't help but ask Xiao Yunduan with a smile, "What shall we call our son?" Xiao Yunduan had been pondering this all morning, so he replied with a smile, "I was just about to discuss this with you. Our son was born in An's province, and our foremost wish is for his safety and well-being above all else. Why don't we name him Anan?" In this place, safety truly outweighed all other considerations. The mountain bandits still posed a significant threat, like a looming tumor ready to burst at any moment. Despite their preparations, Xiao Yunduan couldn't guarantee an easy victory over them. The mountainous terrain was treacherous, and the bandits were cunning, entrenched, and numerous. Eliminating them wouldn't be a simple task. Previously, the injuries sustained by the Tigerhead tribe were not solely due to being surrounded, but also due to their own error. They were outnumbered, underestimated the enemy, and were betrayed by their scouts who revealed their location. Yet, launching a proactive assault on the bandit stronghold was no easy feat otherwise, An's province wouldn't be in its current state, and the imperial court wouldn't have tolerated it for so long. In their previous interactions, Xiao Yunduan had only demonstrated his strength and reluctance to be trifled with, urging everyone to mind their own business. But that wasn't enough for him. He was determined to crack this tough nut. Conquering the bandits would not only secure his promotion but also provide a fallback plan. Even if he couldn't recover from his current predicament, no one would dare to cross him lightly. At that moment, he had the freedom to choose his path: advance or retreat, ensuring the safety of his family. The entrenched bandits posed a significant threat to An's province, and as an ambitious young official, Xiao Yunduan was eager to make a difference for the local people. It seemed like a simple concept, but achieving it here was anything but easy. Yet, it was the most heartfelt wish and the ultimate aspiration. Xiao Xian grasped the depth of Xiao Yunduan's intentions, her heart softening as she nestled against his arms. "Anan is a wonderful name indeed. Anan, stay safe, my love. We'll be all right." "Yes, we will," he affirmed. Their smiles met in silent agreement before they shared a tender kiss. After their moment together, Xiao Yunduan arranged for someone to take the child to rest. He had one more matter to discuss with Xiao Xian. Xiao Xian instructed the nanny Anju to care for Anan, entrusting her to the capable hands of Kai Ming and Kai Yun, who were responsible for her well-being. Anan proved to be a finicky eater, only willing to nurse from Xiao Xian herself. Despite Anju's efforts, Anan adamantly refused to feed from her. Tears welled in her eyes as she turned her head away, rejecting the offered breast. With limited milk production, Xiao Xian resorted to spoon-feeding Anan milk from a bowl, finally coaxing her to eat. "Wife, the autumn harvest is approaching, which means heavy taxes. The Fan family, with their vast lands, will likely lead the resistance and cause trouble. I see an opportunity to address this issue along with Deputy Prefect Guan. It was clear they couldn't allow vermin like Deputy Prefect Guan to persist into the new year." Chapter 1795. Tax. Xiao Yunduan knew he couldn't confront the bandits without first rooting out the corruption within the state office. An attack from both inside and out could spell disaster. Xiao Xian wholeheartedly agreed. To tackle external threats, they had to address internal ones first. It was imperative to deal with Deputy Prefect Guan and his cronies before they could effectively combat the bandits. By the time she emerged from confinement, she'd be able to lend her support in handling the bandits. Since giving birth, Xiao Xian felt her powers gradually returning, perhaps even stronger than before. "If you have a plan, go ahead. They'll take care of Anan. We rarely venture out, so don't worry about us," she assured him. Xiao Yunduan gently held her hand, his expression pained. "I must confess, my actions may disrupt Anan's one-month celebration. I feel guilty towards you and our son." Naturally, he wished for their eldest son's celebration to be a joyous occasion. Yet, once he initiated action, there was no telling if someone would exploit the event to cause trouble. Xiao Xian's response was immediate and understanding. "Anan won't hold it against you and neither will I. We understand what truly matters." Besides, having Deputy Prefect Guan's family residing in the West Yard isn't appropriate. I hope they vacate soon. Living in close proximity within the state office compound meant frequent interactions, which heightened Xiao Xian's concern, especially now with a newborn. The infant was too fragile to withstand even minor mishaps. Their safest option was to compel Deputy Prefect Guan's family to leave. Yet, they were entitled to reside in the government office compound, making eviction without cause impractical. Unless Deputy Prefect Guan ceased to hold his position, their situation remained unchanged. Moreover, there was no need to delay any longer. With the child safely born and Xiao Xian gradually recovering, action could be taken. Surely they couldn't allow Meng Wanfu and Ding Xiang's associates to linger indefinitely. As time passed, the risk of their presence being discovered increased, diminishing their effectiveness as a surprise asset. Though Xiao Yunduan knew Xiao Xian would support his decision, he couldn't shake the guilt. Gently he touched her face, offering reassurance. Reminding himself to treat her kindly, he vowed to do just that. The following day, Xiao Yunduan convened a meeting with Deputy Prefect Guan Jiaheming and other officials to discuss post-harvest taxation. As per Great Qin's regulations, families were obligated to pay taxes in the form of public grain, determined by the quantity and quality of their lands and crops. Even noble families enjoyed only partial tax exemptions, with the rest payable in taxes. While some noble families skirted the rules to some extent, the imperial court typically turned a blind eye to minor infractions. However, concrete evidence left no room for escape. Anne's province's past accounting records were murky, susceptible to investigation. Any revelations would throw the entire province into disarray, rendering it ungovernable. Thus, Xiao Yunduan had refrained from delving into the past, opting instead to publicly address the issue, providing a semblance of reassurance to the populace. Chapter 1796. Fan family. However, starting this year, adherence to the laws of the Great Qin Empire and the regulations of the state government became imperative. Although the large and small family clans associated with the three major families were reluctant, they dared not defy them. They simply followed their lead, albeit begrudgingly. Previously, the situation had been manageable. But with the imminent autumn harvest, it became evident that the Fan family, boasting a vast plantation spanning 150,000 acres, would face substantial tax obligations under Great Qin law. Aware of old lady Fan's formidable character and the strained relationship between the Fan family and Lord Xiao and his wife, many eagerly awaited the outcome of this impending tax collection. Xiao Yunduan convened a meeting with the deputy prefect and outlined two directives. Firstly, they were to verify the acreage of fertile land in Anne's province, ensuring it aligned with government records. Secondly, preparations for post-harvest tax collection were to be made. Given the tight time frame, it was impossible to conduct thorough investigations across all families from the major clans to the affluent households. In reality, as long as the three major families cooperated, the compliance of other families was assured. However, the pivotal question remained: would the three great clans, especially the Fan clan, cooperate? As Xiao Yunduan broached the subject, silence enveloped the room. After a moment, he glanced at his colleagues. This matter concerns the stability of Anne's province and each one of us. Does anyone have anything to add? Taxation was essential for funding various public projects vital to the welfare of Anne's province's residents, including infrastructure repairs, canal maintenance, and provisions for emergencies like famine or shortages. Initially, a portion of the taxes collected across various regions was expected to be remitted to the national treasury. However, Anne's province operated under unique circumstances. For over a decade, it hadn't forwarded any taxes to the imperial court. Naturally, the imperial court wasn't inclined to provide funds to Anne's province without justification. The province had to rely on its own resources. Any prefect daring enough to request funds for food distribution risked investigation by imperial officials. Failure to justify such requests would spell trouble for the prefect. It was deemed unreasonable for a region to be self-sufficient without contributing taxes. Consequently, prefects refrained from petitioning the imperial court for financial aid, preferring instead to borrow from local affluent individuals. Given the prevailing submission, dissent was unheard of. Yet, Anne's province defied conventional norms. Here, strength often trumped logic. Xiao Yunduan grinned. In that case, let's proceed as follows. Deputy Prefect, you'll oversee the land inspection. Within 10 days, we'll scrutinize the holdings of the three major families. Prior to the autumn harvest and tax collection, I expect all families with over 300 mu of land to undergo examination. Chapter 1797. Pulling together, handle this matter separately. Personally oversee the inspections of the 3 major clans. If any issues arise, inform me promptly, understood? Xiao Yunduan instructed. Deputy Prefect Guan seethed inwardly. What could he do? Certainly not this. Wasn't this essentially setting him up to offend someone and face the consequences? In the past, he might have agreed without hesitation. It would have been easy, just a matter of deceiving them. But now he doubted he could deceive Lord Xiao. Were the 3 great clans individuals he could afford to offend? He certainly didn't want to provoke their ire. What would he gain from offending them? He could kiss any hopes of skimming from tax collections goodbye. Given the circumstances, why subject himself to such a thankless task? Yet he couldn't refuse. His previous mistake had been convalescing for so long that Lord Xiao had capitalized on his absence to suppress his allies and consolidate power. By the time he returned, it was too late. Now, with Lord Xiao assigning him a task and him citing illness, it would only broadcast his fear and incompetence to everyone. Life in the state office would become even more unbearable. His already dwindling prestige would likely vanish entirely. My lord, entrusting me with this task demonstrates your trust and regard. I accept your orders willingly. However, I do have a request. Please assign Jia Heming and Jia Shuming to assist me. Grant me this favor, he requested. If he were to fall, he wouldn't let Jia Heming bear the burden alone. The scribes exchanged knowing glances with their peers, silently acknowledging the deputy prefect lord's astuteness. Xiao Yunduan turned his gaze towards Jia Heming. Internally, Jia Heming sneered. Rising from his seat, he bowed to Xiao Yunduan. My lord, I have always been eager to assist you and serve the people of An's province. Am more than willing to take on this responsibility. You've made the right choice. Xiao Yunduan exclaimed with a hearty laugh, nodding in approval. In that case, you'll collaborate with Deputy Prefect Guan. Proceed with haste. Should you require additional manpower, enlist support from the government office. You have my backing. Thank you, my lord. Deputy Prefect Guan grew weary of hearing Xiao Yunduan's praise. While he remained indifferent to Lord Xiao's compliments, he couldn't stomach witnessing praise lavished upon others, particularly Jia Heming. With the matter settled, word of it quickly spread throughout An's province, disseminating to the 17 subordinate towns. The Mei family possessed the smallest tract of fertile land, concealing a mere 2,000 mu. However, they hadn't intentionally obscured this information. It simply hadn't been worth the trouble to register with the government. Regardless, their tax payments were deemed acceptable, sparing them from serious scrutiny. The Mei family viewed the issue as inconsequential, intending to rectify it in due course. They deemed it unwise to engage in conflict with the prefect lord over such a trivial matter. Similarly, the Hua family, ever cautious, found themselves in a similar predicament. They neglected to record land acquisitions out of convenience, confident they could rectify any oversights when necessary, all while maintaining cordial relations with Lord Xiao. Given Lord Xiao's formidable reputation, the Fan family, still nursing resentments from prior misfortune, opted to refrain from provoking further ire. Chapter 1798. Deliberately targeting. Thankfully, Lord Xiao proved to be a reasonable man, refraining from exploitation or seeking undue favors. Consequently, the burden on their shoulders remained manageable. Only bandits would dare openly defy the government's authority. Such behavior was simply unheard of, especially on the surface. However, if the Fan family managed to astound and excel in this endeavor, they stood to gain significantly. It was a scenario to hope for. The Ho brothers exchanged jests in private, pondering the unpredictable tactics old lady Fan might employ this time. With a vast expanse of 200,000 mu of fertile land, the Fan family's decision not to utilize government-provided seeds resulted in a yield akin to the previous year, roughly 600 caddies per mu. Yet, in this water valley terrain, the transformation process yielded approximately 70 to 75 caddies of dry valley per 100 caddies of water valley. Consequently, the output translated to around 430 to 440 caddies per mu of dry valley. Calculated against the tax rate of 30 per grain imposed by Great Qin, the Fan family faced a staggering obligation of nearly 2.89 to 3 million caddies of grain a substantial sum by any measure. Naturally, the Fan clan would not acquiesce readily. Even if Lord Xiao proposed a compromise suggesting they pay half, the Fan family would undoubtedly resist. In previous instances, their contributions ranged merely from 300,000 to 500,000 caddies, and even then only after extensive negotiations with the prefect's representatives. Now, confronted with a demand for 3 million caddies, the spectacle promised to be grand indeed. The Huo brothers found themselves slightly exhilarated by the unfolding drama. Meanwhile, Old Lady Fan seethed with indignation. This was simply intolerable. Old Lady Fan was convinced that Lord Xiao had deliberately targeted the Fan family. It was widely acknowledged throughout An's province that the Fan family possessed the most fertile land. So, why would Lord Xiao choose this particular moment to exert pressure on them? If it wasn't for personal gain, what could possibly be his motive for singling out the Fan family? What added insult to injury was the glaring realization that, despite their awareness of Lord Xiao's self-serving actions, the Fan family felt powerless to openly confront him. Adding to their frustration, Xiao Yunduan had supplied superior rice seeds this year, and although the Fan family had initially intended to inconvenience him by borrowing seeds elsewhere, the plan backfired spectacularly. Not only did Xiao Yunduan resolve the issue effortlessly, but he also obtained significantly better rice seeds than the Fan family. Each mu of farmland using Xiao Yunduan's seeds boasted an increase in production of at least 30%. The implications were staggering. Euro. If the Fan family had utilized government-provided rice seeds, their harvest this year would have been monumental. This revelation left the leaders of the Fan family, including Old Lady Fan, seething with rage, bordering on physical illness. Behind closed doors, they became the subject of ridicule and mockery. To exacerbate matters, Fan Rian, in front of Madame Lady Qiao, unleashed a torrent of accusations, insinuating that Lord Xiao had intentionally deceived the Fan family. Despite possessing superior rice seeds and being aware of the Fan family's extensive planting endeavors, Lord Xiao failed to inform or assist them in any way. Such neglect. Such incompetence as parents. Now, to compound their misery, Lord Xiao showed no remorse and had the audacity to demand taxes from the Fan family. It was the height of tyranny. Old Lady Fan concurred vehemently. She doubted whether the Fan family would have even accepted the rice seeds had Xiao Yunduan offered them, even if they had to beg. The notion of purchasing them was out of the question. Euro, free or not, the Fan family would have rejected them outright. Thus, when the Mei family and the Hua family sent their female representatives with gifts to congratulate Lord Xiao, the Fan family remained conspicuously silent, biding their time.